Hello, welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful.com. I'm Jeremy Lambert, joined as always by the great Stephen Jensen. Jensen, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Getting a good start to the day here. Talk some wrestling. We got a lot to talk about.
Going on.
A lot going on. So yeah, thanks for everyone who's joining us today. But yeah, I'm doing good. Got this going on. I've actually got an Uber Eats order like on the way for right when this ends. I got some Chick-fil-A breakfast that's gonna be waiting for me at my door.
Can someone send me some Chick-fil-A right now? If you're in the chat, DM me and send me some Chick-fil-A. I've not had Chick-fil-A in forever. I love Chick-fil-A, but I'm close to so many like fast food places around here, and Chick-fil-A is actually like 10 minutes away, and I don't feel like going 10 minutes out of my way to get Chick-fil-A. And where the Chick-fil-A was, I was over in that area, but it was a Sunday, and so can't really do anything about that. So someone DM me and DoorDash me some Chick-fil-A. All right, thank you.
There you go. Yes. Then I got my regular work day from home, and probably gonna play some Fortnite with my brother afterwards. So got a good little Thursday going. And how about you, man?
It's another work day. It's been a busy week already. I expect a very busy weekend with everything happening in the world of wrestling with the SummerSlam and StarCast and Ric Flair's last match and all of that. I fully expect a busy weekend. So I'm just gearing up for everything, Stephen Jensen. And we got a lot to talk about today. But before we quite get into everything, once again, send me some Chick-fil-A. But before we quite get into everything, a couple of quick little businesses. Andrew Thompson is on the Creator Spotlight later on. We recorded that on our usual Tuesday. Spoke with Andrew Thompson of Post Wrestling. People know him from Post. They probably know him from your Twitter feeds. They might know him from previous work at Fightful. But Andrew, one of the nicest, best dudes in wrestling media. So I'm really happy to talk with him. We talked with him for about 40 minutes. He had a great story about his favorite thing in his room. So everyone stick around. Everyone stick around for that. Listen to us talk to Andrew Thompson next week. Stephen Jensen, I got more surprises for you. All right. I'm loading up. I'm working on some stuff behind the scenes. It's in similar vein to my last surprises, I will say, but I'm trying to increase the production values here. Like you got to do in TEW and EWR and increase the production value. So got more surprises on the production end for you. I'm honing my skills. I don't know if you saw the thumbnail I made for this. I was pretty proud of that one. That one was pretty good, I thought. So,
yeah, man, your Photoshop skills are improving.
I'm honing my production skills out here. So I got more surprises for Stephen Jensen and everybody else next week. All right, let's get into it. And let's start. We're going to start with WWE. Only one real WWE spotlight this week because there's multiple topics to cover from this one spotlight.
Do you want to be a professional wrestler or do you want to be a WWE superstar? WWE superstar sounds a whole lot better to me than being a professional wrestler.
We might see professional wrestlers again in WWE, Stephen Jensen, because last Friday at about 4 o'clock, WWE put out a statement that said Vince McMahon is retiring as CEO of the company. Vince has been there since 1982 when he purchased the company from his father. He's taken it to the heights we've seen now. And he's also now, the retirement comes as he's in amid of allegations of sexual harassment and hush money. And that is, I don't think it's too unfair to say that's probably a big reason why he's retiring. Wall Street Journal reported that it hastened his retirement decision because he's got a lot going on. He's being investigated by the board. He's apparently being investigated by the SEC and U.S. federal government, federal officials, should say, as well. A lot of different law firms are putting out reports of investigations. So a lot going on in the world of Vince McMahon. And in the middle of it, he has decided to retire. Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan are now the co-CEOs of the company. And Triple H is in charge of all the creative when it comes to the company. Jensen, it's a big topic. There's a lot to unpack, but initial thoughts when you just kind of saw this news come down late Friday afternoon.
Man, so I was working, so I was like just kind of like scrolling my Twitter feed, just like kind of sitting there, and I had to I didn't see the Vince tweet initially. I saw like people reacting to it, so then like I went to his feed and I was like, well, damn. Like, he did tweet that he's retiring. Like, and it's so wild too that like that's kind of. I'm not saying I don't like this because I love how accessible Twitter is and how I love consuming my news through Twitter personally. I mean, I think it's like one of the fastest ways to get like the fastest news when it comes to stuff. And man, it was one of those things where I was just like, it's still weird. Like Vince, he's like 77 and like he announces his retirement on Twitter. It's so weird we're living in a world like that now where you just like get on Twitter, make a little post, and it's like, okay, I guess he's retired. That's wild. And then, you know, it came the same day that earlier in the same day, they had announced Triple H was coming back as COO. And like my big thing, my initial to answer your question, my initial reaction was like, not surprised because surprised and not surprised, right? Because like we had talked in previous weeks, I didn't think that Vince would like vote himself out of his own position, having the 80% of the stock and all that stuff. But the more that these allegations keep coming out, the more money that's being reported that the more that they're talking about how he may have been using WWE's money and not even his own personal money for this stuff. The more that like keeps coming out of all this, I was just like, yeah, there's probably a lot of pressure on him to just get out of the way. Like, and he's going to have to deal with that stuff on the back end too. Like that stuff's not going to just go away because he's retired. Like now he's going to have to deal with like the legal ramifications of like whatever he was doing, you know, the stuff that's coming out. So like my biggest, one of my biggest questions though, that I had when I was like really thinking about it was like, how long did everybody involved know this was going to happen? Because there's no way this was just like an overnight like succession plan, you know, like it wasn't like they just woke up one day and Vince was like, all right, today's the day I just got to retire. There's too much heat coming my way. And there's no way that Triple H just found out that day, like, oh wait, I'm back as COO. Oh wait, I'm taking over creative. You know what I mean? Like there had to have been.
I don't think it was too long because he stepped back like a month ago. I think like mid-June. Is when he stepped back, and that's when Stephanie was named interim CEO. But he was still there and creative. He appeared on SmackDown the same day he announced he was taking a step back, and then he was on the Raw the next time, and then he was on like another episode of SmackDown. I think Titus O'Neil cuts that weird promo last week on Raw, and like I thought that was. You know, that was seemingly a Vince McMahon directive of, hey, go out there, say all this. And like, this is what I want to say, but I can't say because it's maybe not good for me to appear on television right now. That happened on Monday. I don't think they had any plans in place by that Monday. So if it happened, it was less than a week's notice in my opinion, because that news came out like when you release these news at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock on a Friday, that's like news dump burial. Like that's when you want to bury news, 5 o'clock on a Friday. And they did that an hour before. Like I'm sitting here, I'm trying to plan my wedding. And I just look at my phone and Joel Pearl's messaging me because we were set to record something. He's like, I think we just got bumped. I was like, why? So then I checked my Twitter feed. I was like, oh, okay, I guess so. And it didn't hit me of like how big it actually like was. I was like, okay, Vince McMahon's retiring. Cool, sure. It did not actually hit me of like, oh yeah, this guy who's run the company for like 30 years now is actually out, and now it's like a whole new regime of everything. And then, you know, as more news started coming out, everybody did their reactions and everything. It's like, okay, yeah, this is seemingly a big deal. I don't think they had a long-term plan in place because they announced Triple H that morning as EVP of Talent Relations. I think Stephanie and Nick were starting to do a little bit, but I would be shocked if they had more than like 24, 48 hours notice. Because I think by Monday during that Vince McMahon, Titus O'Neil promo, I don't think they had any of this in place. I think they realized how bad this was going to get. And then Vince decided, yeah, maybe, or somebody forced him to decide. I don't think he actually came up with the decision on his own. I think that the decision was made, yeah, maybe you should distance yourself from this company right now. But I don't think it was a long-term vision in place here.
Yeah, I think part of that, like you just said there, is you know, a conversation that probably had to be had with Vince between him and people close to him, and people being like, listen, like if you really do want what's best for your company, for the WWE and for the future of this, like, you have to step aside. Like, if you're involved with this, like, it's going to make everyone look bad. You're jeopardizing the brand's reputation that you built for so long. Like, I will say this though, like, honestly, I think this is just my own personal opinion, my own reckless speculation. Like, this is just me just thinking out loud. But like, I think that I think Vince knew as far back as like the McAfee interview that this was a possibility. I think he knew that like things were going to be coming out, and he wanted to get out in front of the world, in front of the cameras, and like at least have his last like, see, I'm still Vince, still give you kind of a middle finger, like, hey, I'm still like showing up, like he showed up at the UFC event, like he never does that kind of stuff. Like he, so it was like, I think even back when he did the McAfee interview, I think he knew there was a possibility that things were going to be coming out. And also the timing of Stephanie's hiatus was very suspect now looking back at it. Like, it seems like she was taking like a few weeks off because she knew she was about to take over the company. So she probably needed a little reset to so it's like, I think that they had a succession plan ready and they knew this was a possibility, but I'm also with you where maybe it got like expedited, where it was like, okay, today has to be the day, and it's Friday, and it's a good time to do this, and like everyone already knows what the plan is if Vince goes down, and because not even just if Vince has to quit the company, there had to have been a plan if Vince passed away just because of his age. Like, there had to have been something in place, like if this happens, then this happens, for the structure of the company.
I'm not real quickly.
No, go ahead.
The initial Wall Street Journal report, which came out June 15th, it said the investigation for WWE and the board investigating him reportedly began in April. So I agree with you that it doesn't say when in April, but I do agree with you that like Vince's McAfee interview, which took place in March, I think like first week of March, and then of course his WrestleMania stuff. I think there was an inkling of stuff by that point as well. So I agree with you there. I don't know if there was like a full-on plan even with that, because Bruce was in charge. Triple H had taken a step back. Stephanie said she was going to be taking a step back. I do think that they knew stuff. I do think that like Stephanie knew something. I do think Triple H knew something. I think that they were Nick Khan. Like, I think people were clued in. The board obviously knew something, and all these people are on the board. They knew something back in April, but I don't know if an actual plan came like together, because we know how defiant Vince McMahon is. I mean, Sean reported that the first day that the report came out, Vince is backstage. He's like, fuck.
Right.
Like, we know how defiant Vince McMahon is. So I don't think there was any actual plan of like, yeah, if this happens, we're going to do this, this, and this. I think Vince was just going to be like, we're going to operate as business as usual. And then until they couldn't operate as business as usual.
How wild is it though that like, kind of like the how fast Nick Khan rose in that system?
Oh man,
like
2
that's
years.
wild. Yeah,
like 2 years. This man went from just president to co-CEO, and he released a bunch of people. He made a bunch of big deals over the time in his company. And yeah, Nick Khan came to power very quickly. It's also crazy that people were writing off Triple H after the NXT thing, and in September he had the health scare, and NXT basically got taken from him, rebranded completely. Everybody's like, well, Triple H is done. Vince in the McAfee interview is like, yeah, family has let me down.
Right.
And now Triple H head of creative. And I think for us wrestling fans, like on screen, that is like, that's the biggest thing for us, right? Because off screen, like, I don't know what kind of deals Stephanie and Nick Khan are going to do. I'm sure they're going to continue to make billions of dollars for this company. The Vince, if he goes to trial, whatever happens with him is going to happen. I hope he gets what he deserves in that regard. I hope everything like comes to light and he pays for what he did if the allegations are true. But that's stuff that as a wrestling fan, as a person who watches the product, I don't care so much about. What I do care is the weekly television that I watch. And for the longest time, it has not been a good weekly product. And Vince McMahon's going to take a lot of blame for that as head of creative. Now Triple H is head of creative. We saw minor changes on Raw. I think it's foolish to expect that Triple H is going to flip the entire brand upside down in 48 hours notice. I think that was always foolish. I think you get past SummerSlam and then you'll start to see more bigger changes with everything. Like, what are your thoughts on Triple H taking over creative, and when you can expect maybe some of these changes being implemented?
It's hard to know exactly when they'll really start making big changes. But I'm with you as far as I think it makes sense for them to kind of put a bow on everything at SummerSlam and then to kind of reset afterwards. Like, you're rid of the brand extension, like start, and let Triple H start picking his guys and girls that he wants to roll with. Like, I'd imagine that guys like Kevin Owens have like a new lease on life now. Like there's going to be guys that I think that Triple H is going to really get behind and really push. Some people might get deep pushed. Like, I mean, I'd imagine Roman will still be the guy in that company, but we don't know that 100% for sure. Like, Triple H might be like, I like Roman a lot, and I like where he's at, but like, we need to get out. We need a few more Romans now. Like, it can't just be the Roman show. Like, we got to build some more stars. I think when Cody comes back, he's going to be massively over as a babyface. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to have some good stuff lined up for Triple H to do stuff with. It's it's the whole thing is just, it's just wild all the way around. Like, when it comes to the creative, I'm just wanting better storylines and matches that are in the in-ring product to improve. Like, I want, like, less DQ finishes. I want the stuff to, like, less 50-50 booking, just a better overall, more interesting product with better matches and make me feel like I'm investing in something, like good stories. Like, like that's something I think AEW does really well without trying to like directly compare the two, but like the long-term stories in AEW, I think really helps a product. And then the payoffs are, I mean, every now and then there's a dud or something or a botch. I mean, it happens, but like for the most part, those storylines get paid off, in my opinion, in a really good way. And WWE can be doing the same thing. Like, the talent's right there. So I'm hoping that this causes a good shift in the product. I don't know. It's just the whole thing's just wild because, like, I really feel like with Stephanie being the CEO along with Nick Khan, I see Stephanie as being kind of like, she's like the heir to Vince. Like, she's a McMahon, she's his daughter, she's been around the business her whole life. She's been kind of preparing for this role her whole life to succeed Vince. Nick Khan to me seems more like the business guy of the two, where it's like, okay, where are the areas where we're just losing money and let's get rid of that. Like, let's make our company more profitable. Let's get us more global deals, streaming services, so on and so forth. Like, I feel like he's going to be the link for like the business side. And then Stephanie's going to be kind of the heir to Vince. And Triple H kind of ties in with that too, where, and now he gets to kind of do what the fans have been waiting for so long. Everyone who was a fan of the black and gold NXT, like, this is what they all dreamed of. Like, this is like, okay, Triple H can now implement the things that we loved about NXT onto Raw and SmackDown potentially. And I also, really quick before, I don't want to miss this point, but I think this is important. When I was saying for a while, like, that I thought it would be some sort of team effort like this if Vince went down, that it would be some sort of group management system like this. But I also thought there's a chance they just go with Nick Khan, like, as the CEO. Yeah. Like I didn't know for sure, but I was saying if they went with just Nick Khan as the CEO, then that was going to mess with loyalty issues or loyalty with the relationships. So like guys like The Undertaker and Steve Austin and those kind of guys, like John Cena, guys who you'd consider to be like WWE mega stars and lifelong WWE superstars and part of that brand. When Vince left, if it was going to be Nick Khan in charge, I thought like, okay, well, The Undertaker might, wind up in another company or, like doing stuff, he might wind up in AEW. Steve Austin might pop up in AEW, so on and so, just because the loyalty to Vince that's not the same. The loyalty they have with Vince would not be the same as what they have with Nick Khan. But with Stephanie being there, that's different, because Stephanie being there is kind of like, you know what I mean? It ties in with their loyalty to Vince. They've known Stephanie forever also. Like, they're going to be loyal to him. She's still a McMahon, so it's like, I think that it was really smart for a lot of reasons that they're doing I would have been fine if they just named Stephanie the CEO. Like, that would have been no problem at all for me. But I do think it's smart the way that they've kind of groomed Tony Khan into this position very, very quickly with his experience pre-WWE and then having Stephanie, a true McMahon, as a CEO also, and letting Triple H run the creative, which is something that Triple H has wanted for a long time, the fan base has wanted for a long time. Like, so I think that, like, I am optimistic about the future of the company, though my only concerns are, will they just take the Vince McMahon playbook that they've been given for so long and just be like, okay, we're super profitable. We're just going to keep doing what we've been doing, and we're not going to really change a whole lot because what Vince was doing was working for our bottom line. Or are they going to look at it and be like, hey, Cody, what was working in AEW? Like, are there some things that, like, we're not doing that they are? Like, hey, Nakamura, like, when you were in New Japan, like, there were little things, like, start getting collaboration from, like, some of your big stars that, like, have experience outside of the company, and maybe start getting some input on, like, hey, we're already making a ton of money. We're already untouchable. No sports entertainment company is anywhere near us globally. Like, what are some things we could do to make the product better for the fans? Like, the money's already there. Like, what can we do to make the show better? And they have so much great talent from all over the world that if Triple H can collaborate with them and start getting some changes in there that make it so that like the 18 to 49 gets interested again, that's their big, what they're missing. And I so what do you think? How do you feel about all that? Like, do you expect big changes, or do you think it's going to be kind of par for the course for a while, or what do you think?
Like, at the top, I don't expect much. Again, what Stephanie and Nick Khan do with how they make these deals and make a bunch of money, they're going to continue to make a bunch of money. I think naming Triple H head of creative was the smart move, because when Vince stepped down, there was a thought, and I think for SmackDown, maybe Bruce ran part of it, but Bruce was the executive director of Raw and SmackDown under Vince. I don't know if Bruce Pritchard commands that respect. Like, if you're, for example, if you're Kevin Owens and you pitch an idea and Bruce is like, I don't know about this. Like, is Kevin Owens just going to be like, what the fuck do you know? Like, I don't know if Kevin Owens takes that well. Vince, obviously, he's Vince. He commands that respect from everybody. You're just like, okay, sure, it's Vince. I got to listen. He's the boss. He's in charge. He's Bruce Pritchard. Like, so I think naming Triple H head of creative, there's a different level to that, because Triple H does have that level of respect from one, being time as a wrestler, everything he did there, everything he did with NXT, having that relationship with a lot of the talent, and Stephanie as well. There's a level of respect with her. I think it's a good thing. Triple H, I think Sean reported it. Triple H said it in the meeting that was held, like, there's going to be more transparency when it comes to talking with the talent and everything. And there will be more collaboration, according to the report. So I do think Triple H is going to have more input with these guys. We saw what he did with NXT. Everybody who left NXT, everybody who was in NXT, even guys like Adam Cole, when Adam Cole left and went to AEW, he never said a bad word about, like, his time in NXT or Triple H or anything like that. Everyone who ended up leaving or getting released, they always said good things about Triple H and their time in NXT. And that goes a long way. And so Triple H has that respect. As far as, like, on-screen changes, definitely wait until after SummerSlam. I guess the Riddle and Rollins things that got pushed back, that was maybe a Triple H decision. We'll see kind of how they play that out at SummerSlam, if they end up making good with a different type of Rollins match, what they do there. But I would wait until after SummerSlam to see. And then I think Triple H will start implementing stuff fairly quickly. I don't think he's going to be like, well, Vince has this in place. Vince didn't have shit in place. Like, there's no, like, real, like, long-term things. Like, I watched Raw, and some of the best things they did was, like, the Alexa Bliss, her little interview backstage, where she's like, I don't really need Lily. I can kind of do my own thing. Like, why are Dewdrop and Nikki Ash, like, friends? Like, what's going on here? I thought that was a very good promo by Alexa Bliss to try to, like, wink, wink, nod, nod of, like, yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing. Now maybe I have some direction. I'm going after the title. Roman Reigns saying Daddy's not here anymore to Theory. Like, the way they just completely neutered Theory, which I'm fine with. I thought that was very good. I think Triple H is going to make this turnover as quick as possible. What that means, I don't know. I don't think he's going to start bringing in, like, okay, put the world title on Ciampa, put the world title on Gargano. I do think Gargano might show up at SummerSlam. I have no inside information on this. It's just Gargano, he held out long enough, and now his guy's in charge, and it seems like it's coming up nicely for him to be on that main roster and get some sort of push. I think you're going to see different talent be utilized. I think you're going to see maybe talent that was underutilized get a bigger push. I think you're going to see maybe more cohesion with the storylines as well. I'm not saying Triple H was what he did in NXT was the perfect product. It was a lot of taking from the indies and pushing those guys that we all like. But hey, it worked until AEW came around and just did it on a bigger scale and a bigger level. But I think Triple H is going to have positive changes on screen that I'm looking forward to. And I'm hoping for the best. We've talked about WWE a lot on this show in the past of how like it's just kind of an unwatchable product a lot of times for us. And now with Triple H there, I think it'll be a little bit better. There's still going to be some issues. I think the format is just going to kind of be what it was. 3 hours is a lot no matter what, and that ain't going to change. I know people are playing the clip of, oh, Triple H would like Raw to be 2 hours. Long as USA is paying all that money, that ain't going to change at all. So you're still going to get 3 hours of Raw. That's always going to be a slog. I'm more interested, not more interested, but I am interested in how he handles certain things like Sasha Banks and Naomi. They were gone. They, didn't seem to get on with Triple H or with Vince McMahon. Triple H is there. We know how much Triple H loves Sasha Banks. We know how much Stephanie loves women's wrestling. She created the whole thing. So I'm wondering if he can like repair some of these relationships. He repaired the Ultimate Warrior relationship. He repaired the Bruno Sammartino relationship. I'm wondering how much he can repair some of these relationships as well. I think it's good for on screen. I think it's good for off screen. I'm excited to see what happens because under Vince, things were just going to always be what they were. Maybe he hit on a few big moments and everything, but for the most part, wasn't going to be there. Triple H is there. I think the landscape has shifted a little bit, and we'll get into Tony Khan's comments a little bit later on. But with Triple H, I do think there is some shifting now that makes wrestling better as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. And I haven't looked into it yet, but I know that they did tryouts in Nashville this past or within the last couple of days. It might still be ongoing. I'm not sure, but WWE is looking at talent in Nashville right now.
Yeah.
Prior to SummerSlam, and I was seeing reports. Once again, I haven't had time to look into it, but apparently there was a good amount of indie wrestlers at that thing, and I think
good.
Yeah, at least that's what I heard, or at least there was a handful. I don't know how many because I don't know how many people attended the tryout, but it sounded like they were interested in indie wrestlers attending that. So it's one of those things where like, hopefully this is a big trickle down where maybe they reconsider the whole NXT 2.0 thing. I mean, like I'm not saying that that's necessarily like the worst idea in the world, but what I do think is if the Raw and SmackDown product is about to shift back more towards like in-ring wrestling and different storytelling and Triple H being in charge, we got to also keep in mind like this whole overhaul with like NXT Level Up and NXT and even NXT UK and stuff, all these because like that's another time we haven't even thought about Shawn Michaels and how he might figure into this because he's been running NXT UK, and I know a lot of people don't pay attention to that show for a variety of reasons, but in all honesty, as like just strictly a professional wrestling show, I think it's a good show weekly. I cover it for the Weekender, and I think they have storylines that make sense in their matches. They have payoffs for their matches, and when there's like a pay-per-view match or a takeover, they always deliver. So it's one of those things where like I think Shawn Michaels will probably get a lot more power over time as well. And I'm excited for that potentially too. Like. And I think that this really could open it up for indie wrestlers to have a foot back in the door potentially to get into WWE and have a little more confidence in the idea that if I sign with this company, now I have an actual chance. Whereas before, years back when they were signing guys like Blake Christian and Alex Zane and all those guys, there's some names I don't want to mention because some people have been canceled since then. I don't want to like accidentally, but you know what I mean? Like they Anthony Henry, a lot of these guys who were like, they put on 205 Live and they just did nothing with, and they were gone within like 6 months to a year. Now it's like, if you're those guys, maybe you're like, or someone like that, you're like, okay, you know what? Before I didn't have much of a future with like the way things were structured, but Triple H seems to like me and he's in charge now. Like that's like, it's interesting for a lot of reasons because I think the trickle down can be very, very beneficial for the whole WWE product if they go back to signing more indie wrestlers and really trying to build their product in a different way than what they were doing the last, couple of years or whatever. So
I hope Triple H just establishes some consistency across the entire company. And this Triple H, Stephanie, Nikon, like everybody, but mainly when it comes to like the booking and stuff. Have the people on Raw who are on Raw, have the people on SmackDown who are on SmackDown. Decide what you're going to do with NXT. If you're going to kind of keep it a developmental type thing where maybe stars go in and out, like use these brands as an actual sort of territory system that they should have been doing for the longest time, but for reasons they never did a great job of establishing. That's one of the biggest things that I want from Triple H is just establish consistency on these brands and utilize this roster to the capability that we know that they have, because it's still a great roster, even with all the releases and guys leaving. Like it's still a great roster. And they got some talent in NXT 2.0 who could be on the main roster very shortly. But like utilize this roster to the potential that it has. It's going to take a while for Triple H to like really implement everything. I certainly don't expect anything really until Rumble, because then you got Survivor Series and you do the whole champion versus champion. Like maybe he changes that format. Who knows? But like until like the Rumble is when I'm thinking Triple H will sort of really have his fingerprints on everything. And I think that's fair time for him to really get things going and moving things around.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because like come January, we'll have our first ever Road to WrestleMania where Triple H is in charge of what's happening between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. So I think that's going to be that's a good point you made. I think that's going to be a really important time frame for wrestling fans, specifically fans of the WWE, is going to be once January rolls around. Like, what's it look like heading into WrestleMania? Because that I think will show us a lot of kind of what the future of the company could look like.
And Cody will be back. Triple H will put the title on him. Just put the belt on him at Rumble. Just not even waste any time. Just go ahead and give him the belt at the Rumble. Cody's going to come back at SummerSlam this weekend. Just beat Seth Rollins again. Fuck it. Beat him for a fourth time. Sweep the series for Cody. JJ mentioned I hope wrestlers get better care. WWE pays for wrestlers' insurance, pay for the travel and everything. Hey, I love these changes like behind the scenes as well. Big E mentioned that WWE is taking care of him while he's out. I think they do that for the most part. If like a guy gets injured in the ring and things like that, like they take care of these guys. I would love to see more changes like that implemented, of not just like full on independent guy. That's a big one, actually. Of like, let these guys stream on Twitch. Okay,
right.
let them go on Twitch. Let them have third-party stuff that they can do so they can make money elsewhere, because apparently Vince was very adamant about not doing that. You know, Triple H, when he was in charge of NXT, he didn't care if those guys were on Twitch and stuff. But Adam Cole, he had to give up that shit if he wanted to move up to the main roster, and it seemed like that was a Vince thing. And now that it's a different regime, maybe that'll change. Like, let these guys be able to do third-party deals and promote if Sasha Banks is in Star Wars. Do that kind of stuff. Like promote these outside ventures for people. So I hope that is a change that happens off screen as well, as like wrestlers get not only more freedom on screen, they get more freedom away from wrestling, and they're able to do cool stuff outside of wrestling. Because to me, that only helps build a community and build your brand as well. Like it helps build your relationships. Adam Cole's talked about it many times of like, yeah, I'm on Twitch and I just have this great community of people that I talk with every week. The up, down, down, when it was at its peak, great community of things. Like that's the stuff that I would like to see when it comes to off-screen stuff.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think that they would have probably been able to retain a good amount of the wrestlers that wound up leaving had they just been able to keep their third party. I mean, there was a lot of issues that a lot of them had, but I think that was a big one for a lot of them, was not being able to do that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, and I know with our AEW Spotlight, we'll get to it in a second, but I really do feel like guys like Adam Cole and Aleister Black and others, like there was a way better chance of them staying if Triple H, if this would have happened before.
Yeah, Black got released. Like that's just
right.
Yeah, but I do think there is a better chance now, because Vince probably just saw like number and then bigger number and was like, or maybe name, I just assumed they just numbered everybody, but he just saw name, number, and was like, oh, well, this guy ain't really moving the needle that much. Nick Khan wants to slash the budget. Sure, whatever. I think Triple H will be a little bit more like, hey, no, I actually have plans for this guy. Like, I actually want to do something with him. Maybe we don't release him. We're making a ton of money. This is very, hopeful. There's a chance that Triple H sees the business, Stephanie sees the business a little bit different, but it seems like they got good relationships with a lot of these people. Of course, Malachi gets on Twitch right after he gets released and is like, Vince loved me. Vince thought I was great. And then it's like, yeah, Vince thought that like you probably were still around. But no, Vince just saw a number. He named you wrestler with tattoos, number 5. And then he saw a number that he didn't feel you were living up to and was like, sure, get rid of him. I think Triple H will actually see a name with all of that. And then he will see the number and be like, yeah, we can justify this in some way. So I do think maybe there will be less releases. Maybe that's wishful thinking on my part. I think that Triple H, yeah. So Dio Loki makes a good point. Tripp said it was the same guy who didn't see anything in Deonna Purrazzo. This is when I said earlier, like Triple H had misses. There were some talents that he didn't see much at. Like the Eddie Kingston tryout where Ford rolls. He's like, wait, what is Eddie? Thunder Rosa, we want you to be a referee. Like he oversaw some of that stuff. The guy had misses. He had misses when it came to scouting. He had misses when it came to booking. So he's not perfect. I don't think any booker is really perfect. So I don't expect, it's not going to be perfect under Triple H. But if there's an improvement as a wrestling fan who watches the product week to week, that's what I want. Everybody's going to miss. Everybody's going to miss on talent. It's just going to happen. But as long as there's improvement, I'm cool with that.
Yep, I agree. Yep, Triple H missed on Deonna Purrazzo big time. I agree with people saying that. But like you just said, Jeremy, that's going to happen with everyone. I love Tony Khan. I love him as a booker. I love AEW. They miss sometimes. I mean, it's just going to happen. It's just going to happen. Because every now and then too, like if you pay attention to stuff like NXT Level Up going on right now, I mean, there's even people that weren't named on the indies or anything. Like there's still guys that I think like have been in place even in that system. Like there's like Malik Blade and Idris Anafe and these guys who like they have a lot of potential. Like it doesn't have to all be like indie guys and girls and stuff. Like you can create your own talent if you just push them the right way and like let them really like work their way up the card. So no, I'm with you 100%. Like there's going to be misses here and there. Gianna was a big one. I'm with you guys 100%. But yeah, I bet you anything if Triple H could have that one back, if she becomes available, he'll be interested.
Yeah. And I mean, and that happens too. Drew McIntyre, he was missed on the main roster despite being the chosen one, reinvented himself throughout the independent scene, came back. Look at him now. Like that happens.
Reinvented himself.
Yeah. So maybe, it just wasn't Deonna's time. There was a lot of talent in front of her. She couldn't get through. I do think that was still a miss. She's improved. She's gotten more comfortable. She was in a system that she could thrive in. And now maybe she comes back when and if she's a free agent and she is treated like the big deal that she actually is. So we will see on that. I'm hoping for the best when it comes to Triple H. I'm optimistic. Me too. I haven't been optimistic about a WWE product in a very long time, but
I'm optimistic. And as much as people think I'm a WWE hater or whatever, like I've supported the product adamantly for like 30 years. I want it to be good. I want to watch it. I want to get excited for it. I'm giving it a chance. Like I want it to be good. I'm hoping SummerSlam is an awesome show. I really am.
You gonna watch SmackDown on Friday?
I don't know, maybe. I'll definitely watch SummerSlam for sure. So
yeah, SummerSlam should be a fine show. Yeah. But SummerSlam is like the last like holdover of like the Vince era. And I don't think Triple H is making big changes to some, but maybe Liv Morgan beats Ronda Rousey. You know what, Triple H, if you want to impress me, if you want to prove this is a new regime and you're going to do something different, Liv Morgan clean over Ronda Rousey in 30 seconds or less. Do that for me, Triple H. Otherwise, I got no faith in you. I'm taking away your gift basket if you don't do that for me, Triple H.
Liv Morgan is tapping out hard at SummerSlam to Ronda Rousey. Anyway, let's move on just because I we got to get to the other topics. Although obviously Vince and Triple H, that's a massive, massive topic. So y'all hear me and Jeremy talk about that, I'm sure, a lot over the next few weeks.
I'm not talking about it ever again.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show. And I think it's been a run of great shows.
Actually, it was a very good show last night.
Fantastic show.
Tremendous show. One of the best shows they've ever done. But we're not going to talk too much about the show just yet. We are going to talk about what Tony Khan said on Busted Open Radio, where, when Triple H came into power, everybody on Twitter is like, oh, he's going to bring back all the NXT guys who left. Adam Cole's just going to leave AEW. Malachi is just going to leave AEW. Kyle O'Reilly, all these guys are just going to magically leave. Tony Khan's like, fuck all that. Like, nah, these guys, Adam Cole's here until 2027. Malachi's got like 5 years left on his deal. These guys ain't going anywhere anytime soon. They're not magically just going to up and leave. He did admit that, like, there might be some changes. Things have shifted. He thinks it's good for the wrestling world, and I agree with him. But these guys ain't just leaving AEW next week just because Triple H is back. And I thought Tony Khan was smart in saying that, shutting that down very quickly. Him saying, I'm very amused by this. His overall tone amused me with the interview. But these guys ain't magically leaving. I still think it's a good thing for wrestling. And look, if last night's show was Tony Khan's response to Triple H taking over, being like, hey, we're gonna push Hook, we're gonna push Daniel Garcia, then I'm good with all that, because I thought last night's show was great.
So did I. I thought last night's show did an awesome job of like continuing to set up the future for AEW, which we'll talk a little bit more in depth when we get to your spotlight with that. I thought the show last night was great. I really did. I thoroughly enjoyed it from top to bottom. The reason I wanted to spotlight the whole the long-term contracts for Adam Cole and Aleister Black is because I'm sure they're not the only ones on deals like that. And part of me is just funny to think about, like, someone like Adam Cole, even though he didn't have this big blow up with the WWE or like burn a bridge, and he has spoken highly of his time there and everything. But even him, like, who seems like the nicest guy in the world, like Adam Cole really seems like just like this great human being, yes, by all accounts. And like, even he was so over the WWE that he's like, yeah, I'll take a 5-6 year deal with AEW. Like, I have no intention of going back. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty wild when you think about it, because in today's day and age, like, there's job security in signing a contract that long, obviously. But I think in most cases, people would prefer to have shorter contracts than that if they could. Just because, when you're that valuable, you like to be able to test free agency, and the market's constantly changing, and your value could be way higher 5 years from now. But it also could be lower. You could get hurt. I mean, a lot of things could happen. There's definitely job security in that stuff. But when I look at stuff like esports, for instance, they usually sign like 1 year deals or like 2 year deals. It usually doesn't go beyond like 2 years. That's a different thing. But like the idea is that the landscape changes so fast that like you like having your freedom and being able to choose different organizations and be able to kind of always be able to gauge your own value. And I just thought that was really interesting that a guy like Adam Cole or a guy like Aleister Black would be like, cool, I'll take a 5 year deal with this company. Like, that's how much they value and see their future in AEW, and how little they cared to go back to the WWE is kind of how I felt. If you're going to sign a deal for that long, I mean, even like the EVPs when AEW started, those were what, like 3 year deals, like when Cody left.
Yeah, 3 year deals with an option. With an option,
right? So it's like, those are, you know what I'm saying? Like, that seems like more like the timeline that I kind of expect to see. But like a big 5 year deal, like that's once again, that's a guy like Adam Cole showing a lot of faith in AEW and just really not having any intention of going back to WWE. Now, I think that had Triple H been in power, and now things might be a little different going forward for some talent, because now they're going to be like, hey, I mean, a guy like MJF, he might be sitting there talking to Cody on the phone and being like, yo, like, what's Triple H think about me? You know what I mean? Like, because we know Triple H and Cody, or as much as everyone thinks that they hate each other, like Triple H has said plenty of times, or Cody said plenty of times, Triple H is his favorite wrestler of all time. You know what I mean? Like, so it's one of those things where like I'm interested to see how many people kind of backpedal a little bit on their stance of like, I'm never going to go back to work for the WWE now that things have changed there. And I just think that it was interesting to know that Adam Cole and Malachi Black are signed until like 2027. So good for them for getting, great long-term contracts that give them job security and keep them, in my opinion, my favorite company in the world. But yeah, did you find that interesting as well? Because those are long deals.
The Cole deal was very interesting because I didn't realize, like, apparently it seemed like he also just like re-signed a new deal as well, because the way Tony made it seem is like he had signed, maybe, I don't know if it was a short deal or he just added an extra year, but his wording, and I'll get the wording here in a second, but I know Kyle O'Reilly signed a 5-year deal as well. He had mentioned that. So It's not that like these long-term contracts in AEW, seems like with these newer guys, like that seems to be what sort of the standard is with AEW. So Tony's exact comments, Adam Cole is signed until 2027 now. And so the now made me believe that, like, oh, did he get like, because he debuted in 2021. So that's actually like I guess it's a 5-year deal. I mean, I'm terrible at math. But the now made it seem like maybe it was a shorter deal and then years got tacked on or something like that. Regardless, the 5-year deal doesn't seem like it's not standard in AEW. It seems like they signed a lot of these guys coming in to 5 years deals, and they got them locked up. And I'm sure these guys appreciated the long-term security on this stuff. And yeah, maybe they thought like, well, WWE ain't going to change in 5 years. Maybe that's a little bit foolish thinking that like, hey, nothing's really going to change in WWE in 5 years. I'll just stay here and I'll be good. I probably would have gone a shorter term deal thinking that, yeah, it's going to change. I look at it very much from a real sports perspective of I'm more likely to sign a shorter term deal and then I can weigh my options, especially like if you're a wrestler, like where your peak is based on booking and things like that. And like for some people, they're not peaking until like their 40s. You know, pro athletes, their prime is in the mid 20s to early 30s. So if you're in that term, like sure, sign a long-term contract, and then if you decline, you're still making a bunch of money. Otherwise, like maybe if you're an older player, like sign a short-term contract. I would probably like sign a short-term contract though. Just knowing how crazy the wrestling landscape is, I would, go back to WWE and maybe they'll offer me a little bit more, because we kind of saw with Cody, like if you have a nice little run in AEW, maybe they'll treat you better when you go back to WWE. I think a big point that needs to be made here is I don't think Tony Khan should worry so much about losing Adam Cole and Malachi Black and all these former WWE and NXT guys that they're bringing in. It's the guys like MJF. It's the guys like Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, and they're on long-term contracts too. But just as an example, I don't know the full details of any of these contracts, but it's those guys. It's the guys like Ricky Starks that these other guys are coming in, and this is all prior to last night is my thinking, and then we'll kind of get into last night. It's those guys that I'd be worried about losing, of like, hey, I was like helping carry this company through a pandemic. I was like kind of an original guy here. And now all of a sudden I'm not getting featured as much because you want to push the Adam Coles, the Bryan Danielsons, the CM Punks. Like, let me see what WWE has going on, considering the value they place on like, oh, you're coming from the other side. Now Triple H is there. He might see what Tony Khan has done and be like, okay, well, we can do this too. Like, I can take your talent that have decided to leave and I can put them in good positions. So that's where I would be worried if I was Tony Khan. Not so much losing. Well, these guys were thrived in the NXT system under Triple H. I'm worried they're going to go back. Well, I'm not worried because they have 5 years. I'd be worried about the guys who have deals coming up who are like, let me see what WWE can do for me. That's where I would be worried. And last night, I don't know if it was a direct response to all of that, but last night was a good start of like, yeah, I'm going to take care of these young talents as well and showcase them, and they're going to be just fine under me too.
Yeah. And I've talked about this on the show before where I was saying that there's a good chance that, because WWE's had such a hard time building their own stars for so long, that I'm like, they're just going to let AEW do it for them. Like, let AEW build guys like Jungle Boy and Ricky Starks and Sammy Guevara and so on and so forth. And then, like, if they become available and AEW has them, off to the side for ex-WWE talent, that they don't even need to do, like, they'd have to push them on their own television show, obviously, like, to get that perception. But, like, it's one of those things that's like, you take a Jungle Boy and be like, okay, he's still in his mid-20s. Like, he can be a star for us for forever, and he's already got the TV exposure and a fan base. You know, like these people are going to have big advantages coming in. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about the Ricky Stark stuff, because that gets me excited, seeing where the future's heading for a lot of these talents. And I'm with you. Like, I think that AEW, they need to be careful about, like, I mean, I get it, it's a seesaw. Like, you can't just not push CM Punk right now. You can't just not push Bryan Danielson. But when you have the up and coming talent like Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta and Ricky Starks and so on and so forth, it's like AEW has already proven that they're not afraid to start getting them in the mix with those top talents. And sometimes they're going to beat those top talents, and it keeps it to where it looks like they're on the same level, or at least approaching the same level as these big stars from these other companies and stuff. So yeah, this is good stuff.
And real quickly, I would worry about the guys. The women is who I would worry about.
Yeah.
Because if you ain't Britt Baker or Thunder Rosa or Jade Cargill, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of TV time for some of these women. And Triple H, we know, again, loves women's wrestling. Stephanie invented women's wrestling. That's where I'm looking at, if I'm a female in AEW, of like, hey, maybe things are a little bit better in WWE, and maybe I'll get more of an opportunity over there. So I maybe not worry so much about the young males over there, but the females on the AEW roster. That's, if I'm Tony Khan, where I would be a little bit concerned of, like, oh yeah, they might leave and head over to WWE where they see a little bit more opportunity.
I think
the female side in AEW, there's still issues there for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I think that's a really good point. And also one other thing that we always have to keep in mind, one advantage WWE is always going to have over any other company is most of the wrestlers that are in the game currently, they didn't grow up wanting to be AEW wrestlers because AEW didn't exist. Like, they grew up wanting to be WWE superstars. A lot of them. And it's one of those things where that seemed unattainable with Vince around for a lot of those wrestlers. And now it might seem like a possibility. So, like, you know, they're always going to have that little advantage too, of like someone like MJF growing up wanting to be a WWE wrestler his whole life. And now this might be a possibility, you know, and you always got to keep that in mind too. As much as I love AEW and what they're doing, a lot of these wrestlers' goals were to work for the WWE one day. So, you know, they're always going to have that little bit of advantage when it comes to that for a lot of these wrestlers. So, yeah.
On the subject of Ricky Starks, this was my spotlight of, like, everyone knows, big Ricky Starks fan. I've been pushing for him to get opportunities for a long time, despite my fake rivalry with him. He's gotten mic time over the past couple of weeks. He's gotten a wrestle. Last night, he did lose the hook, but then he cut a very great impassioned promo about, like, wanting the opportunities, not wanting to wait. Like, my time is now. And then Hobbs turned on him. I think Ricky Starks, like, he already had all the potential in the world to be, like, one of the top heels in the company. I think he has all the potential in the world to be one of the top baby faces in the company. I tweeted it last night after Hobbs hit him, like, Ricky Starks is about to be the biggest baby face in this company. I hope that this was a big time elevation of Ricky Starks. It seemed that way based on, you know, everything that and how it played out. It seemed like this is going to be a big elevation for Ricky Starks, but you never know. Hobbs could beat him. Starks could be lost in the mix. You never know with this kind of stuff. There's very rare, sure things in wrestling booking because of how things change on the daily. But last night seemed like a big sign that Ricky Starks is in line to get elevated up there as one of the top baby faces in the company. And I think that's the right call, because this guy has all the tools, and I love that he's finally getting his time to shine on the microphone and in the ring.
When people might not realize, he's wrestled for like 2 decades. Like, he's been around for like forever.
Yeah.
So, like, this isn't even a case of like I mean, he's still young, but you know what I mean? It isn't one of these things where it's like a guy who just came out of nowhere who, like, I remember watching him on the Indies and like in the National Wrestling Alliance and all this. Like, I remember him doing like enhancement work for the WWE. Like, he's been
bullied by Ryback.
Yeah, that's right. Like this dude has been through it, and like he's still grinding. He's still getting better, which is great. And I know he was another one of those guys that like Cody speaks really, really highly of.
He still talks to Cody. He still talks to Cody.
Yeah. So I know people hear me talk about Cody a lot and stuff, but the reason I say that though is because like I feel like that means something. Like Cody meant a lot to AEW, and he had a lot of in like the young talent and helping develop them on the show. And he really would always spotlight Ricky Starks as like, this guy could be the star of the whole thing, And I think that, I think that him as a babyface is going to work even better than him as a heel going forward. The fans want to cheer him already. Very charismatic, great in the ring, very athletic, still young. I mean, he checks every box you would want out of someone you're going to push as a big star in your company. And I can say the same stuff about Hobbs to a degree. Hobbs doesn't have quite the, the level of experience, but with his size and in how athletic he is and how much he's improved since joining AEW, I think this is going to be mutually beneficial to both guys, which is a great thing. I think that Starks is going to come out of it as a massive babyface. I think Hobbs is going to become an even better and kind of more well-known heel. And I'm hoping that Ricky wins the feud just because I think that listen, Hobbs' future is super bright. Like undoubtedly, like I think both guys are future AEW world champions, Hobbs and Starks. But if it was me personally right now, I think you need to take the momentum off of last night's segment. And the thing with Stark and Money Mark says Starks is 32. That's actually a lot of wrestlers. That's like their prime is around that age. So like that's great for Starks that he's 32. And it's one of those things that's like, I feel like based on the reaction last night too of everything, like both guys are money. But I feel like it would really benefit Starks as a babyface to win this feud. So that's just me personally, but I think both guys are going to come out looking way better after their feud going forward because of their feud. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure we'll get multiple matches between the two, and it'll be like an actual real feud, a real rivalry with some really great matches and some great payoffs of these stories, I feel like. So, and I was excited. And here's another thing. I didn't see the heel turn coming or the turn coming at all from Hobbs. So, and I thought also to shout out to Hook, like, I mean, super over. I love seeing the orange trunks. It was cool hearing Taz on commentary during it. Like, and the way that Starks reacted, the whole thing was cool. Like, he goes out there, he beats Danhausen, he loses to Hook, but then he dabs Hook afterwards, like, shows him respect, and like they're still friends. And then it cuts this great babyface promo. And right when you're like, okay, him and Powerhouse, like, tag team, babyface tag team now. Like, okay, like they were real close to the titles. Maybe this is what puts them over the edge. And then Hobbs just waffles him.
That
like,
looked brutal.
That looked very real. The way that he hit him from the side of the head like that, or in the neck. So yeah, I didn't see the turn coming. And I shouldn't say I should. Hobbs didn't turn, but you know what I mean. The Hobbs turning on Starks, I didn't see coming. And Ricky Starks, it looks like he's off to the races as a babyface going forward. I think this accomplished a lot, and both guys are going to be better on the back end from whatever happens out of this feud between the two.
There's still more to play out on this too, because as you said, Hook and Hobbs dapped up after the match, or Hook and Ricky dapped up after the match, so it seemed like they were fine. Taz was like stunned when Hobbs hit Ricky. He was like, "Oh, what the fuck happened there?" So now and Hook's like babyface. Like, I know it's like part of Team Taz and everything, but like team with Danhausen always gets a big reaction. Like, he's kind of big time mega babyface. So now we'll see kind of where Team Taz goes, if maybe they become a babyface team with Hook and Ricky Starks. I don't know how all of this is going to play out. They can go in a few different directions. Maybe Powerhouse Hobbs is on his own. Maybe Taz I think Hobbs needs Taz on the mic a little bit, certainly more than Ricky does. But they got their options on what they want to do with Team Taz coming out of the split.
Dude, I would have Hobbs pair up with Stokely, Hathaway, and Jade or something like that. Like, because do like Stokely talking up Hobbs, that would be great, I think. Especially with the dynamic of the height. You know what I mean? I love when Stokely is managing someone who's like way bigger than he is. It just like, it just comes out, even with Jade, you know what I mean? Like, it's it's like that. But him next to Hobbs, because I always thought it was such a huge miss for the WWE that they didn't have Stokely and I know that Stokely and Omos were together very briefly, like years ago, but I thought that would have been just a perfect visual for Omos on Raw, having a guy like Stokely who doesn't even go up to his hips, like just talking all this trash for him. I think something like that would be really cool. Like if Hobbs, because I think Taz being the mouthpiece for Hobbs works really well. But I think Stokely would be able to kill it as well. I mean, so they have really good options in AEW if they want to move him away from Taz.
I think everybody should be managed by Stokely Hathaway,
Agreed.
even if they're very good on the mic. Let's get into our other spotlight, Stephen Jensen.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Straight up the middle, Stephen Jensen. That's what NWA is doing. I can't believe I'm leading with this over Jonathan Gresham, which is actually an important topic. But
okay.
Try to tie it in. Nick Aldis pulled from the title match, replaced by Tyrus. And then Corgan's like, Nick Aldis is politicking. And then Nick Aldis is like, I'm not politicking. I carried this company. It all seems like one giant work, and it's not a good one. And I don't know what they're trying. Like, they're trying to get some type of buzz because NWA 74, they put the title back on Trevor Murdoch. Bless Trevor Murdoch. He ain't drawing much for them. I think Nick Aldis is drawing much at this point either. But then replace it with Tyrus. Like, Tyrus has go away heat. He does not have heat of, hey, let's tune in to see what Tyrus does. It's let's not tune in at all because who the fuck wants to watch the quite possibly the worst television wrestler in the world. And I don't think I'm making a bold statement by saying that.
True.
He's awful. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish here, but they're trying to do something with all of this. And they got us talking about it. I was like, this seems important enough to talk about, but I'm talking about it mainly to bury it because I think it's just awful, like awful television. Half of it's not even playing out on television. It's playing out on Busted Open Radio. Like, I just think it's just awful stuff to try to garner buzz for your show that clearly doesn't have a lot of buzz going. The fact that Trevor Murdoch couldn't get an NWA World title defense on this Conrad show that's running this weekend, they couldn't get the NWA World title on this show this weekend. That says something to me of how devalued the NWA is right now. That Conrad and David Crockett and Ric Flair are like, hey, maybe we should have the title that Flair is kind of most associated with. Maybe we should have a title match on our big show this week. Nope, not there. Maybe if Aldis was champion, they would have it. I don't know. But NWA, not even in the mud. Just it feels 5 feet deep right now. And someone's going to dig that extra foot.
Yeah. It's rough, right? Because I review NWA for the Weekender. And I know. So I keep up with the product. It's not always a terrible show. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's okay. But, the thing with Tyrus is this, like, all politics aside, because I get there's a lot of people that don't like that he does the stuff on Fox News and so on and so forth. Just taking all of that out of it, just strictly as a fan of professional wrestling, he's essentially immobile. It's just bad matches. It's just bad matches. Yeah.
He hurt Mims. I think he faced Mims in his last match. And he just hurt him. He's awful.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's one of those things where, like, what's so frustrating about it isn't just that, like, it's one thing if he's just on the show, right? And it's like, okay, it's time for Tyrus, and you kind of know what you're going to get out of it, but, like, it just is what it is. But it's a different thing when he's the television champion who's now made, like, all the title defenses he needs to get a world title shot. He's eyeing the tag team championships as well right now, and is about to get a world title shot on the pay-per-view. So it's like you're making it seem like Tyrus could hold all the titles in your company soon. Is like how it seems like it's being built. And it's like, of all the people in the world of wrestling that you could have done this with, I get it. Corgan's probably sitting there going, okay, well, it gets our belt on national television and people recognize Tyrus in the supermarket and this and that. And it's like,
I don't think anybody recognizes Tyrus.
I think he gets recognized because of his look. Like, because he's a huge guy. Like, people probably see him and they're like, who is that guy? I don't know. I'm not saying he's like famous or like super. I'm just saying, like, I could understand the idea that Corgan thinks that this guy is like a recognizable figure, mainly because of the stuff on Fox. But he's not good. He's just not a good professional wrestler. And it's sad to see that this is the company, the direction the company's going in with all this. The stuff with Nick Aldis is strange too, like you said. Like, it seems like a giant work.
I guess the payoff is Nick Aldis conquering Hero as well. Like,
I guess, because that's even confusing, because just a couple weeks ago, like when they were doing the stuff to qualify for that 4-way that Aldis wound up winning to get a title shot, building up to that 4-way, Aldis was like taking cheap wins to get there. So like he was a heel like during this, and then he winds up winning the 4-way to become the number one contender in the what do they call it? The race to the chase or whatever they called that.
Yeah.
And it's like, so Aldis wins this whole thing. And then all of a sudden on Busted Open Radio, they just announced that, okay, Aldis is getting pulled and it's going to be Tyrus instead. It's just not, I mean, Pluggo mentioned that. I say this on the Weekender all the time. The Pope, that would have made sense because like he's never held the belt and like he's over at least. Like, I mean, like there's other people they could have went with. I like Trevor Murdoch. I do. I think for the NWA,
Trevor Murdoch's a babyface. Like, he's a babyface. I think this makes a little bit of sense if it's Cardona and Corgan is playing. I guess Corgan is an evil authority figure. I don't think anybody comes off looking good on this. I think we live in a world of black and white. I think it's not good booking. It's not good storytelling. I don't think any of it is super interesting if I'm a fan who watches the product, which I don't really watch the product, but I just wanted to spotlight it because I think it's dumb.
Yeah. Well, if I had to make a prediction right now, I think Tyrus is going to probably win the championship. Like, because there's no other reason to think he won't. He's undefeated in the company and just keeps beating everybody with heart punches. I mean, it's bad.
He's awful. Don't put, if you are any type of wrestling promotion, don't book Tyrus. Just don't do it. All right. Or if you're going to book them, 1-minute matches. If you want to build them up in 1-minute squash matches for some reason, sure. He's not good. He's not a good professional wrestler. He's just not. And I have no interest in watching him at all. Let's move on because I do want to talk about this Jonathan Gresham topic. Jonathan Gresham lost the ROH World title to Claudio Castagnoli at ROH Death Before Dishonor, which was a great show. Everyone should check that out. FTR Briscoes rocked. A lot of great matches on that show. And then, according to Sean Ross Sapp, Gresham reportedly asked for his release. Got into a heated conversation with Tony Khan, was confused about what the booking was and where he was supposed to go and everything. I said it, maybe it was last week. I said it whenever we talked about, I think it was last week. I said Gresham should win. I said I was confused by the heel turn because I didn't think him aligning with Tully Blanchard made much sense. And then in the pre-show, we learned that Prince Nana just bought out Tully Blanchard Enterprises, and now it's the Embassy, which is probably better. It fits ROH more than Tully Blanchard Enterprises, but it was like, okay, well then Gresham turned and aligned with Tully because Tully reached out for him, but now Tully's selling the stuff. It didn't make any sense to me. It still didn't make sense. And then after watching Gresham lose and this all coming out, this makes the most sense to me because if I'm Jonathan Gresham and I don't know what's happening with with ROH and where my position is, everything, I'm a little agitated too because I helped carry this company during the pandemic. I helped keep them relevant after the pandemic by defending the title on different promotions, including Impact Television. Like, if I'm Gresham and then this comes in and then I'm just cast aside for guys who are under AEW contract, I'm not happy either.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. He's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place in a lot of ways, I feel like, because I'm not saying that him feeling that way isn't justified, because like I get where he's coming from, and I understand where you're coming from too, because I feel the same way. Like, just for what it's worth, that whole group, the Embassy, like I don't think Brian Cage really fits well with like the tag team, the Savages,
Gates of Agony.
I'm getting them confused with with GC Finale and Jacob Fatu, the Savages, Simone Savages. Is that what they're calling themselves now? Anyways, that group just doesn't make a lot of sense with him and Gresham, and like it really didn't make sense with Tully around. But I do like Prince Nana being involved in the Embassy. That's kind of cool. But if you're Gresham, I understand the reservations there, where you're like, because even before winning the world championship, he was really carrying the company on his back as a pure champion, and like he's put a lot of time and effort into this brand and being the faces of it. But but if you're Gresham, like it's tough because like I don't know what conversation went on between him and Tony and how much it blew up, but apparently that happened before they wrestled. Oh, him and Claudio, and you could kind of tell because like the match was only like 11 or 12 minutes long, and Gresham didn't come out.
It was very abrupt. Like,
yeah,
it was out of nowhere.
Me and Doug talked about this, and I thought Doug brought up a good point. He was like, Gresham didn't wear like the big robe and jacket or like the octopus mask, and like it just kind of seemed like when MJF came out and just got squashed by Wardlow and just bailed. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I mean, he got carried out on the stretcher, but you know what I mean? It just kind of had that kind of vibe of like, all right, let's just get this over with, you know? But if you're Gresham and you've burned that bridge, which I don't know if he has or not, I'm just speculating here, but it's like, if you've burned the bridge with Ring of Honor and AEW, that like, I don't know what the best case scenario for him is. Like, is the best case scenario? You go to
Impact and you wrestle Josh Alexander every single week and become Wrestler of the Year.
Well, you can do that, and you'd be there with Jordan Grace, which would be great for both of them, I'm sure. And there's New Japan. That's an option. You know, I think that him and New Japan would be very interesting. But I don't think – I mean, now with Triple H in charge, it's possible that he winds up there. But I trust me, I fucking hate being this guy when I say this. I fucking hate it. But, like, his height's an issue. It just is with certain companies. It's just going to be. Like, I just don't see the WWE ever rolling with him at 5'4". I just don't see it happening. I hope I'm wrong.
Kevin Patrick is going to have to do the interviews from his knees to make Gresham look taller. Yeah, they got that. They make them like slump over, and they're going to put Kevin Patrick on his knees to make Gresham look taller.
That'd be wild. But like, that's the thing is like, I think Gresham's a fantastic in-ring wrestler. I really do. And like I said, I hate being that guy who says that, but like, there are certain companies that are not going to take a chance on him because unfortunately, this is the honest truth. I watched Death Before Dishonor with some friends that don't watch a whole lot of wrestling, and they were like, they couldn't get into Claudio versus Gresham because of the size difference, just straight up. They were like, what is this? Like, this doesn't even look fair. And I was like, it's pro wrestling, so like, you know, it's that doesn't matter. And like, Gresham's really good, and they're like, it doesn't matter to them. They're like, no, this Claudio should win. Like, this is silly that this is happening. And that's the perception of like the casual fan base, I think. That said, I think Gresham's incredible. I want to see Gresham and Danielson. I want to see Gresham and Garcia and Gresham and Yuta. And I want to see all this stuff. And I see a lot of people compare Rey Mysterio and Jonathan Gresham. That's not the same thing. Rey Mysterio, listen, I think Jonathan Gresham is great, but like even guys like Bret Hart will say Rey Mysterio is like one of the best wrestlers of all time. You know what I mean? Like Rey Mysterio is on in a different atmosphere than not just Jonathan Gresham, but
different time,
other professional, different time. But once again, it's one of those things where like, I hope that Gresham's future is still bright. I hope if he winds up in Impact, he winds up being one of their top guys. I hope if he winds up in New Japan, he's successful. I'd love to see him back in Ring of Honor, AEW. Like, I hope they work it out because I am a fan of Jonathan Gresham. I just think that his options are unfortunately going to be somewhat limited, especially when it comes to like a WWE. And granted, like he's got Terminus and stuff, like he has cool stuff going on outside of the mainstream, but you know what I mean? I feel like AEW in Ring of Honor, that's the best place for him to thrive. And I just hope that here's my hope. I hope that him and Tony Khan can work things out and they can just go forward together in Ring of Honor and AEW, because I would hate to see Gresham's career get kind of derailed just because the options are going to be a little bit limited for him strictly because of something he can't control, which is his own height, which I hate that. I hate that because there's nothing anyone can do about that. There's nothing you can do about it.
Stephen Jensen, don't beat yourself up over
because I'm somebody who really prides myself on like the talent. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I never let height and size be an issue. I never let, like, if I want to see Chris Statlander wrestle Keith Lee, like I'm for it if it's good. You know what I mean? But I also have to be realistic here and be like, it just is what it is. And this is, I think, his best chance to thrive would be in AEW and Ring of Honor. So I hope they get it figured out and he can keep working with them going forward.
What I meant by different time on Rey Mysterio, because I do want to clarify, people are like, oh, it was Land of Giants with Rey Mysterio. Rey was doing like different shit that you didn't see on national television with the kind of cruiserweight and high flying stuff that he was doing that a lot of people weren't. Jonathan Gresham, love him. I think he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. But his style, a lot of guys do that style. And Gresham does it better than most of them. But you can find a lot of guys who kind of like do sort of technical wrestling like Jonathan Gresham. The thing is Gresham is on a different level than a lot of those guys. I think Gresham thinks the game differently than the majority of wrestlers. If you go back, I'll put this interview over. If you listen to my interview with him where he broke down like his match structure and everything, you can see how Gresham thinks it. Watch Terminus. You can see like Jonathan Gresham's vision of pro wrestling. I don't think a lot of stuff always, especially in a nationally television company, his vision is going to align with a lot of that stuff. It should not disqualify him from being on television and being one of the best out there and being in captivating stories, because there was a story to tell with Jonathan Gresham. Like there was 100% a story to tell with Jonathan Gresham as ROH world champion, and they didn't tell any of it. And it's very unfortunate because I thought Gresham was going to do well. If not in AEW, he would at least carry the ROH flag. Yes. And that didn't happen. And who knows if it's going to happen. And I think that blurring the AEW ROH lines, which is going to seemingly happen right now, until ROH gets a television deal or some type of distribution deal, it's just going to be a lot of AEW influx. I mean, every ROH champion outside of the 6-man tag team titles, which aren't even featured, and now they got the trios titles in AEW. Like everybody's just under an AEW contract and regularly on AEW television. That's just how it is when it comes to ROH. So I feel bad for Jonathan Gresham. I thought he deserved a lot better than the build up to the Claudio match. I thought he deserved a lot better to the actual Claudio match, the ending of this reign. It's very unfortunate because I think the world of Gresham as a wrestler and as a person, and I was hoping to see him like really do some big things in ROH under Tony Khan's banner, and may not happen. Hopefully something gets worked out. We shall see.
Yep. Let's move on to the indie spotlight because I only got about like 5-6 minutes.
Run through stuff.
Yes.
Give a big motherfucking shout out.
All right. Indie Spotlight. A couple big shows happened this past weekend. Stephen Jensen, AEW Absolution, where Josh Bishop, he won the AEW Absolute and Intense titles against Dillinger in a no ropes barbed wire match. Matt Cardona had to relinquish the title. Bishop, if you watched our interview with him really like a month or so ago now, we broke the news to him that Cardona was injured. He's like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. What ended up happening was Cardona relinquished the title. He faced Dillinger. Dillinger was the last person in that Gauntlet for the Gold Battle Royal Rumble. He powerbombed him over the top rope through the table. And so that set up the no ropes barbed wire match. Bishop wins. Definitely the right call. As far as the match goes, wasn't fully my cup of tea. I thought there was some rough moments. It's tough to do these no ropes barbed wire matches, man. Like you can't use the ropes, and some awkward moments, some awkward spots. I thought they did the best that they could with the environment, but it was a little rough at certain points. But Bishop's the guy in AEW, so I thought that was a good call.
Yeah, I agree. And it was good to see Derek Dillinger, the former Derek Direction, doing his thing and being a part of that match, because he's a guy who's been grinding for a really long time, and he's been under the radar. And I remember him as he used to have a tag team with Eddie Only called The Production, and that's how I got introduced to those guys years back. And he's really like Eddie Only veered off and joined 440 and had a whole gimmick overhaul, and Derek Dillinger had to like really reinvent himself, and Ziggy Haim by his side and stuff. I think it's worked out really well for him. And obviously everyone knows I'm a big Josh Bishop guy. So I was really looking forward to him getting this title back, or the two titles back, the Absolute and Intense Championships. And it would have been nice to have him beat Cardona, because that's what they were building towards for months. But I'm sure when Cardona is back in action, they'll run that back between him and Bishop will still get his big win over Cardona. There was a scary moment for Wes Barkley when he kind of fell off the apron into the barbed wire towards the end of the match. When he came out to help when Ziggy was helping out Dillinger towards the end.
It was slamming Ziggy all over the barbed wire and onto Bishop and everything. I did love those spots. They were cool.
Yeah, there's some good spots. And I mean, that's kind of what you get out of a Josh Bishop kind of like hardcore match, is like it's always going to look a little rough around the edges, but it looks very authentic and believable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it looks like, everything isn't going to be super smooth, but he's going to go out there and he's going to kick ass. Necro Eric 420, I want to let you know, because he's asking for coverage of like Prestige, Sup, Garden State Pro. Sub Graps, I'll definitely talk about on the Weekender. I'll probably talk about all this stuff on the Weekender that you mentioned. Sub Graps is my favorite independent company, so I'll absolutely be talking about Sub Graps, so you don't have to worry about that. Garden State Pro, is that where the other match we're talking about happened? Yeah. So we're going to be talking about Garden State Pro in just a second. So shout out to Joshua Bishop, the once again absolute and intense champion. You can watch that match and that whole show. Is Absolution 15. That's over on IWTV. Use code Fight Talk, by the way, IWTV.live.
There you go. And my indie spotlight was from Garden State Pro, their debut show. The main event, Josh Alexander against Konosuke Takeshita. 20-minute draw, which I understand. They maybe didn't want to. Josh Alexander, tough for him to lose as Impact champion. Takeshita, he's been on a run. He's been on a run, and maybe they can run it back. I know Takeshita is headed to Japan to work a DDT Pro show, but I'm sure he'll be back in the U.S. soon enough. I thought the match was great, as you would expect. I really like it. Picked up at the end. It was unfortunate, and Alexander's working over the knee throughout the majority of the match. He gets him in the knee bar. Some technical issues that's not on Garden State. It's certainly not. Maybe it is on Garden State. Certainly not on the performers in the ring, though. But there were technical issues at the end that we missed kind of the last minute of the match, and then it came back, and then like right as the buzzer sounds, it goes to another technical issue. Very unfortunate that all this happened. And
that was Fight TV, right?
Yeah, it was on
unfortunately like a thing. Yeah.
Bad timing to have this in the main event stuff. But yeah, debut show for Garden State. It was a good show, highlighted by a great main event between two of the best wrestlers in the world. And if you haven't watched it, go check it out.
Yeah, shout out to both those guys. Like Josh Alexander's hitting a new level right now. Like he's always been great, but like right now he's really coming into his own as like a singles world champion that's really being recognized and put on that same level as other major world champions. And Takeshita with like one of the best excursions in recent memory. I mean, absolutely killed it during his time in the U.S. And I know he's got to go back to Japan soon, but I'd imagine we'll see him very soon back in the States. Like, I mean, he really, I mean, talk about just making, really making your time count and something like that. Like, because we've seen that go so many ways. And we all remember Okada's excursion to Impact, to TNA and stuff. And like, it can really go a lot of different directions. I remember Nakamura's excursion and stuff. And like, but to see Takeshita just take the ball and run with it and just take every opportunity that he had and just keep growing his brand, growing his name, having great matches, because people are going to be fiending to see him back. So like when news breaks that he's going to be coming from Japan back to the States, he's going to get big pushes in all those companies. He's going to be selling tickets. So he did a great job. I got to put the credit on him and the people that are booking him. Everyone did a collectively great job of Takeshita's excursion. And it makes sense to go to a draw. I mean, I would have been fine with Alexander beating Takeshita personally, because he is the Impact champion and he loses very rarely nowadays, which is fine. And Takeshita, he can take some L's because it doesn't really hurt him because his matches are so good and he's still very new to the fan base. So like, but that said, I have no problem with the draw whatsoever, but we've said it before and I'll say it 1,000 times. Fight TV's got to get their shit together when it comes to that kind of stuff. So
yeah, do Takeshita against Alexander in the Impact Zone.
I'm run it back for the title. Yeah, let's do it. I'm down.
Takeshita is going back to Japan. Hopefully there's some Cinnabon waiting for him. That's been my favorite story in wrestling, the love story between Cinnabon and Takeshita.
Man, when you say Cinnabon, it just makes me think about Better Call Saul. That show has just been chef's kiss.
I gotta catch up.
Fantastic. Next week's episode, spoiler alert. That it's heavily rumored that the next episode is going to be titled Breaking Bad, and that's when we're going to finally get the crossover. So I've been waiting 7 years of watching Better Call Saul for this. What's happening in this season right now is what I've waited like the last 7 years for. So, so anyway, I got to bounce to clock into the shoot job. But if y'all want to follow me on Twitter, just my thing is down below here. Fight Talk _FIGHT TALK_ on Twitter. You can hear me every Sunday at FightfulSelect.com. I'll probably drop a Weekender podcast on. Well, yeah, I will on Sunday because SummerSlam's on Saturday. So yeah, I'll do the Weekender on Sunday, talking the world of pro wrestling. A lot of the stuff coming out of
Actually, I might even. I'll probably do it Sunday. I might hold off until early next week just because like the Flair match, I think, is Sunday night. There's going to be stuff I'm going to want to talk about, but maybe you'll hear me talk about that here on the Spotlight instead of on the Weekender. I'll get that figured out. Regardless, the Weekender is usually on Sundays. It's at FightfulSelect.com. And then you can check out my show with Doug every Tuesday, a live rounds on the RVD Tito for Life channel. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern. I think myself and Jesse Davin are going to do some SummerSlam predictions on our YouTube channel. So that should be this Saturday morning or afternoon, probably around like 1 Eastern, something like that. But I'll put anything I have going on. I always put links up on my Twitter. So once again, _. And I hope y'all enjoy this interview with me, Jeremy, and Andrew Thompson, because this was a great interview that I really enjoyed. And I know Jeremy did. And it sounded like Andrew did as well. So I hope y'all enjoy listening as well. And I'll see y'all again next week, same time, same place.
Thank you, Jensen. We will be back next week. But before we go away for the day, I'm still here. Before we go away for the day, Andrew Thompson of Post Wrestling joined us for our Creators Spotlight. Andrew, one of my good friends in the business. And so it was great to talk to him and learn more about his journey and just kind of bullshit with the great Andrew Thompson. So here we go, the Creators Spotlight, everybody, with Andrew Thompson of Post Wrestling. Welcome back to the Spotlight. It's the Creators Spotlight. I'm still Jeremy Lambert. That's still Stephen Jensen. And below us, a man you know, a man you might recognize from Andrew Thompson interviews, from Post Wrestling, the undisputed, undefeated GOAT of this. The GOAT, my man, Andrew Thompson. How you doing, buddy?
Stephen and Jeremy, man, I appreciate y'all good brothers having me on, man. I told y'all before we started recording I was gonna spin this into like just some regular conversation. It was gonna fly by, but now, man, I'm glad to be here, man. And it's always great to finally meet you, Stephen, and Jeremy. It's always good talking to you, my good man.
We put over our content creators or any creator that comes in here, and I know how well Andrew takes compliments. So this whole thing is just going to be putting him over, and he's going to be deflecting, and it's going to be great. But Andrew's the absolute best. I'm glad you're here, buddy. It's always great to talk to you. And the first question I have is what I kind of ask all the content creators: how'd you get started in this crazy world of wrestling media?
Man, you taking me all the way back. I want to say 2017, early 2017. I remember I was this is when I was still in community college, and I ain't had shit to do other than my schoolwork. So I've always been a big wrestling fan. So I figured I wondered if I could get into like writing about this. And I remember this website. It was called eWrestling.news or some. I'm probably butchering the name right now, but it's not that. Yeah. I saw it on this website. It was eWrestling.news, and I remember the guy had just gave me opportunity to write feature stories. And I remember my first feature story that I ever wrote was about 2017 Royal Rumble's prediction article. And like I was, this was back when my fandom, when I thought Sami Zayn was going to be WWE's next big baby face of all time, and he was going to win the world title. And I had fantasy booked this whole thing. And then I remember right after that, I had started doing news for a website called eWrestling News, but not eWrestling.news. It's two separate things. And there was a guy who wrote for the site, who owned the site, named Frank. And honestly, bro, like if it wasn't for him, like I really don't think I would like be writing about anything wrestling related right now, because I had absolutely zero experience, and he sort of just took a chance on me and like gave me a shot, because like he let me, can I curse on here? Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure.
He let me like fuck up, like, and I fucked up like a lot because I didn't know what I was doing. Like I was like, it's funny because I know I talked to Jeremy about this. Like throughout the years, we talked about like, people like, crediting and HTing people for the transcriptions. I used to be that guy that was like taking people quotes with no credit, no nothing. And like I remember I just kept like after a while kept messing up, and then I eventually got it. And I still talk to Frank like I'm gonna say a couple of times a year, and I just always like shoot him like a thank you text, because like if it wasn't like, cause he could have honestly like booted me the hell off his site like off the first mistake, but he just kind of let me keep doing my thing, and he just gave me a shot and allowed me to meet the wonderful people that I met at Fightful, of course, and then of course the people that I met at Post Wrestling as well. So yeah, I owe a lot to him, and I always try to shoot him a reminder every once in a while.
Yeah, it's funny because I've known you through Twitter for years, but this is the first time that I just realized that. I was like, is this the first time we've done something on camera together? It is, now that I'm thinking about it. That's wild. But I remember going through similar types of things when I was starting with, like, because my background had nothing to do with journalism or anything like that, so I didn't know either, like, how you're supposed to credit things correctly. So you just kind of, like, I was the same way. I was just a big wrestling fan, just kind of found my way in through writing and podcasting and stuff, and then the next thing you know, you're just kind of learning these things. Well, what was your like? Did you have any kind of background in journalism, or is this strictly something similar to with me, where it's like the passion of just like being a wrestling fan, and you just kind of found a way to get into it, but didn't really expect to be like writing about wrestling and that kind of stuff beforehand?
I think it's like a mix of both, because when I was in school it was in mass communications, but I was more so on the behind the camera type thing. Like, I really like doing like the audio stuff and, you know, setting up cameras and editing. Like, that's kind of like my thing, or what I really enjoy doing, or what I still enjoy doing. But I kind of just like found myself into it, and it was more so just out of curiosity. Like, I was just looking for places where I could write, but I was like aware enough to know that I couldn't like go to like some of these like top flight sites and just be like, hey, I have no experience, let me write on your site. Like, I knew I couldn't do that, so I had to like, you know, take my pick of the meal and see what was out there and see who would give me a shot. So yeah, I definitely think it was more so the latter, what you just said. I kind of just like walked into it, I guess.
How did you get started with Fightful? Because you were here when I joined on. You mentioned you were in community college. When I joined on, you were still in college, and you were doing the weekends. And I was always super impressed that, like, you go to school all week, and then the weekends you're banging out like 300 articles and getting everything done. And I was like, does this man not sleep? And turn out you don't. Nobody is fighting, but we just don't. We run on. Sean likes to joke that we all run on crack.
That thing's still in me, man. It's still
yeah.
in me. It's still in me,
I was like, oh my god, like he's doing all this. Like, this is really impressive. But like, how did you get started with Fightful doing news for the weekends with them?
Okay, so this was when I was writing for Lords of Pain at the time, and I remember I had finished up with them, and it was just a thing of like, for bro, I didn't want to be in college and like be like reaching out to them, like my people asking for like money and shit like that. So I wanted to make sure I could like make my own money and do what the hell I want to do when I was in school. So I remember I reached out, because I mean, at this point I was like looking at Fightful for a minute. Like, I want to say for like at least 5 or 6 months. Like, I had been eyeing it, but I knew I had some experience that I could at least throw at Sean. Like, I couldn't, like, I knew I couldn't just come out there and just be like, hey, you know, we'll take a chance. But I had to make sure I had some experience under my belt. So I remember I went to him and he put me on a trial basis at first. And then I remember I was like, you know what? I'm in a trial basis. I'm gonna bang this motherfucking trial basis. I'm going hard. As soon as he give me any type of access to the site, I'm going crazy. And like, I remember everything just went real good. Like, of course, like, even when I was first started at Fight, I made some, you know, not even a little bit. I made a couple mistakes, man. And I was like, Sean he was always real cool about it, and, you know, just told me, hey, you should do this and do that, and try to fix certain things here and there, and, you know, plug little things in this spot, and maybe you should do this instead of doing that. And like, some of that stuff that he sort of told me early on, but like really still like carried on to the same thing I'm doing now. So yeah, from that point on, it just kind of went. So I started. I remember the first article I wrote for Fightful was a Titus O'Neil article about him doing something, and it kind of just went from there. It was February 2018, and then I remember, Jeremy, I first met you when we first started like communicating. We first started working together. Was if I remember correctly, it was when it was the Triple Mania show that night. I think it was a Saturday that we started working together, and then like, I think me and Jeremy kind of got the groove of how each other work. I would probably say like SummerSlam 2018.
Yeah. Oh, definitely by SummerSlam.
And then shit just it just went from right there. It only took a little bit of time.
I will once again put you over, because the biggest thing I learned from you out of everything was like work ethic when it came to this stuff. Because you went to college all week, and then you came on the weekends, banged out all these articles. You were helping out with the late shows as well, like Raw and SmackDown, and any type of I think that was all there was back then. Maybe NXT, they taped shows and everything. AEW wasn't a thing at this point. But like, I saw how hard. Yeah, I know. I saw how hard you worked, and then I was completely new to like news writing. I had done like features. I never really did news writing, and I saw how hard you worked, and I was like, I got to work that hard because this is sort of, I felt the expectation here. And if I don't work that hard, if I don't keep up with Andrew, then they're going to fire me. And again, put you over. I made a bunch of mistakes at first, and Sean always talked to me about it, and I took it very hard. Yeah,
I was right with you.
Like, I took it very hard when I made these mistakes. Like, I'm fucking up. They're gonna fire me. And you were always right there to be like, don't worry about it. It's cool. Like, we all mess up. I mean, to this day, we still mess up. We write a lot. There's a lot of like errors and stuff. Maybe we just mental lapses and whatnot. Like, we read a lot and it's like we forget something. But you were always there and supporting me of like, don't worry about it. Like, you did what you needed to do. It's fine. Like, anybody talking shit, fuck them. Like, you work hard. Like, it's good. You're always in my corner on that stuff.
But you want to know what? Real quick, something I want to tell you that I always appreciated you did. Like when I came on the weekends, because like I'm not gonna say I would be tired because I'd be energized. Like it wasn't like I was like beat up and stuff. But like one thing I always appreciated was like you would leave like you were filling those gaps for me, like in terms of like time wise. So like I wouldn't have to like worry about, okay, I got to fill out at 8 o'clock, at 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, and 11 o'clock. Like you would have like half of that shit blocked off, so I could just like worry about like the instant stuff, and then like I would be able to in return the favor to you on the weekdays when I was gone, and then I could like I mean when I was gone, and I could just fill in those gaps for you, so you wouldn't have to like wake up at like the fucking crack of dawn and like they it ain't shit on the site. You know what I'm saying? You ain't had to worry about it. So like I kind of like that little tag team dynamic. And the funny shit was we never had to say that shit to each other, like ever. Like it was never a thing where I had to like actually hit Jeremy and be like, hey bro, can you fill this thing out for me? I would check the site when I come on finishing my school stuff, and it would just be like shit on the site. I'd be like,
if anything, you would be like, can you leave this open for me so like I can make sure like I can put something there. Like, that's what it would be. And I'd be like, hey, can you like leave 9 o'clock open? Like I'll be up. I'll take it. Yeah, can you leave like 3 o'clock? I'll be okay, cool. Yes, we worked very well with that.
And real quick too, Stephen and Jeremy. Like one thing I do want to say is I always appreciated that. Like you and Sean, like y'all will always be like, because I think at this point it was just us three. Like it was like that was it. Yeah. Like it was just me, you, and Sean. And I remember like I would always appreciate like how like when like. Cause like it would be some days, bro, like when the schoolwork would just be like, I'd be like, Jesus fucking Christ, like it'd be papers on top of papers. But the one thing I always give y'all credit for is y'all never, now I'm talking about not once, ever, like when I had some like big school related, like y'all never was like, hey, we need you to do this, you do this, can you take a break from school, or like you take a break from your work? Like y'all, I'm talking about not once did y'all ever say or do anything, even I'm talking about not even hint at it. Like y'all will always take care of your business, come back, whatever it is, midnight, whatever the fuck it is, whatever time you free. And like to this day, I always, and that's why I'm still like real tight with you and Sean to this day. Like I always appreciate it. Like it was that little stuff that like sort of stuck out. Like I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but like now that I like, you start to look back and stuff, like I always appreciated y'all doing that. Like y'all looked out big time.
You did the same, Jensen. I'm sorry.
You're good. Go ahead.
You did the same because I had a lot of personal stuff going on through the time that you were there, and I wasn't always the happiest in my relationship. And I mean, my ex was going in and out of the hospital and everything, and I was like, I can't do like. What do you want me to do? And same thing. You were always there. Like, don't worry about it. Like, take care of your family, take care of your business, everything. And Sean was the same way. And we always just tried to find ways to support each other and realize that this wrestling shit ain't the most important shit in the world. Like, we have other stuff to do. And again, that is why I always talk to you. And that's why fuck Sean Ross Sapp, but that's why I still work with him. All right. Sorry, Jensen. Go ahead. I told you we were just going to put each other over a bunch. On this
no. This happens a lot depending on who the guest is. Like sometimes I just go on and on. I find like a YouTuber I like, and it goes for like, and I know Jeremy's just sitting there like trying. I'm like I gotta get my stuff in there, or else I'm gonna forget. You're giving a lot of really good insight though. I mean, I have people ask me often, and I see people just like tweet about it. Even earlier today, there was something that a few of us were tagged in that one of the comments was like, I really want to work for Fightful one day, and I know that a big part of what this is just advice to people that are listening to this that want to get a foot in the door, not just here, but anywhere doing anything like this. I know Sean's this way for sure. is having something to show. Like when you ask, like you were saying, Andrew, like you had a body of work that when you were prepared. So when your time came and the opportunity presented itself, you were ready and you had something to show and they were able to give you that chance and you knocked it out of the park. Do you remember by chance, like when you talked to Sean the first time, do you remember what you sent him as like your kind of like your work for him to look at?
So if I remember correctly, I remember it was just I had DM'd him and asked him if there was a position open, and then like it was like just small talks back and forth, like it wasn't anything like concrete right off the gate. And then I remember he had hit me back, I'm gonna say like a week or so later, and then he asked me to submit like just like web pages of like work that I had done. Like it was just a bunch of articles. So I just sent them like stuff I had did at E-Wrestling News, like feature stuff that I had written, and of course the workload that I did at Lords of Pain too. And like I just sent them all that, and like I think it was good enough. And he was like, "Hey, you know, we can work something, we can do something with this," and like you know, it just kind of went from there. So yeah, I think that was like it was probably like I want to say like a 2-week process maybe, like because I know the first week I had hit him up and it was kind of like I mean like with anybody I could tell like it was like more that feeling out process type thing. And then like after I got sent him out work and stuff, I think he kind of was like, okay, like I think we could work with this, we could do something with this type of thing.
Yeah. That once again, I think that's really good advice for anyone that's listening right now that wants to pursue this. Is no matter where the outlet is, like if you can find somewhere to like just start getting experience writing, just if you have just start podcasting. If you have an iPhone, you can make a podcast. Like, you know, there's no excuses nowadays. Like you know, you might have 0 listeners, but who cares? Because like maybe one day you meet the right person who wants to give you an opportunity and they go, "Hey, do you have any podcasts that I can listen to so I know what you sound like?" I do. No one's listening, but here you can see what it is. And you never know what can happen through just working and then the right opportunities coming together. And I know things have worked out great for you. I mean, with post wrestling, how did you get in with those guys?
Yeah, man. Big love to John and Way, man. Those my dudes right there. But I remember when I remember when I first hit up John. I think I sent John a message, right? And I know he was real hesitant about like bringing like another ride because it was like it's always been like I'm talking about like just on the news front. It was always him, and like it was just him and Way on the like audio stuff. Like cause they had like other audio play, you know, other guys on the site like Davey Portman and Braden Harrington and like a bunch of other guys that came over from the live audio wrestling. But like I'm talking about just strictly on the news front, it was just John. So I know he was kind of like, I don't know, bro. Like, I don't know, man. Like you know, he was being courteous about it, but like I could tell like it was that like hesitancy there. And I remember this was the day when I first started contacting him. I think it was like August 2019, and I remember I was at the basketball court and I sent him a message. I was like, look, because this was after we had made that initial contact, and I was just like, look, give me one chance. That's all I need. Just give me like one day or like whatever. Like, because I know they did the news update. I was like, let me do one news update. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna put you on a trial basis. I was like, repeat. Here we go, history. Here we go again. Right, here we go. So I remember I started writing the news update for that Monday, Sunday. I'm gonna say Sunday afternoon, bro. I had 25 pages worth of notes. Like I'm talking about like transcriptions from just links to like different interviews that I really didn't find anything like important in. Like it was just like 25 pages full of notes. And I remember I sent it to John, and then I had it right. I remember when he sent it back, he was like, this is great. I was like, I got his ass. I was like, nice. I was like, and then yeah, man, it just kind of went from there, man. So it was real cool, man. I love when I'm doing that post, man, and everybody over there is real cool, treat me real well, and it's real cool, man. So I always think about that now, like whenever I like do a podcast with John and Way, I always bring that up because that was like a little funny moment. Because I don't know like what Way said on the situation, but I know John was kind of like so sort of hesitate because and I get that aspect because like when it's always just this core group of people and then like you're trying to bring somebody else in and you don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. Because if it was vice versa, I would probably be the same way. I feel like, well, it's always been me So like I don't know exactly how you would fit into the equation. So I'm glad he I'm glad I sent them that like that basically that little that whole essay of notes, man, and it got me in the door.
Because they don't know from either perspective, right? When it's been mainly like a core group of people, they don't know how you're going to interact internally with them, exactly. And you also don't know what the perception from the audience is going to be, because they might be like, "Hey, this isn't John Pollock. Like, what is this?" You know what I mean? Like, so, but it worked out great. So, I mean, that's awesome how things have turned out. And I love hearing that you're loving working over there with those guys. That's awesome.
Appreciate you, man.
I will say if you're not reading Andrew's news updates, do it, because there's tons of news that you're not going to find anywhere else, and unless everybody else is taking from it, as they will do, and hopefully giving you credit, because we know the battle of the transcription credit. We've been there many times, both of us, yelling at different people of like, can we get some credit on the transcriptions?
Hey, Jeremy, I had to go lie to you, bro. I think I gave up, bro.
I gave up too.
I gave up.
I 100% did. It used to be a big battle of like,
I know, right?
They're taking this transcription. Okay, who do we email? And now it's just like, oh, they're not going to listen. So whatever. I'm just going to keep doing my work, and that's that. Like, yeah. The funny thing is, what's up, Jensen?
I was gonna see if you guys wanted to make any call outs. Like, who do you usually have to go after about it?
I won't call out Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer for never giving any type of transcription credit in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. I won't do that. Okay. The funny thing is like people get mad about like, and I don't know if you've experienced this, Andrew, but people will get mad like, well, why should you get credit for this? Like, oh, you just listened to it. You didn't do the interview. Why should you get credit for this? That's the worst one, because what people don't understand is like a lot of these people, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you can share your own story on this, but like a lot of the like interviewers and stuff, they will reach out to us and be like, hey, thanks for covering my shit. Like, I appreciate that. And a lot of people don't actually know that, while all these other idiots online are like, why should you get credit? Why should you get a link back for this? It's like, no, the person who actually did the interview appreciated that this was covered by us. So maybe that's why we should get a little bit of credit, because they appreciate it. So you should appreciate it.
There are like quite a few instances of like people who like they'll question why like the site or the individual who transcribed is getting the credit, or the site is getting credit. And I'm like, because like transcribe the interview, like that's kind of it. Like, I don't think it's like anything behind it or anything more to it. It's just kind of we transcribed, and then like at the end of the day, it's like a beneficial type thing. Like we getting credit for doing the work, and you're getting credit for people so that like they know where this came from, and you got your link back to your podcast or to your YouTube or whatever it may be. But yeah, you always got your few. But like for real, bro, like most of the time, it's like. It's mostly positive, to be honest with you. Like, because you got people like some people will be like very thankful that you're like covering their stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they'll send you an email or shoot you a DM and be like, hey man, I appreciate you doing this and woo 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 and this, that, and the other. And like that stuff is always cool, man. Because like you helping somebody out, and then by them signal boosting you, they helping you out. You know what I'm saying? So it's most of the time it's positive, but you definitely do got your select few out there who kind of. They
don't understand how it works. They don't think that transcription work is actual work.
We can move that conversation along, man.
Well, let me talk about your interviews, because you've got your own YouTube channel, Andrew Thompson Interviews. I mean, I have seen your process in work at StarCast many years ago, and how you were taking notes on your phone, getting all your questions down and everything. And you've interviewed some top people. I remember when you went to the first StarCast in Vegas, you did the interview with Nick Gage. I'm pretty sure you're in DK.
All time.
Yes.
All time. Hey, Steven, let me tell you something, bro. When Nick Gage is probably, when I say the definition of get to know somebody before you even make any assumption. I'm talking about even the slightest assumption of somebody. Like I remember this dude. I remember I went up to Nick Gage, and I wasn't expecting him to be like mean or nothing like that. Like I was expecting him to be like chill, but like this dude was like, hey man, he came over and pulled me a chair up. Was like, you want to sit down and you can do the interview. And he was real cool, man. I remember I seen him at a show later that day. And he recognized me and gave me dialed me up and all that good stuff. Nick Gage is probably like one of the coolest people like that I got to interact with and wrestle. So I just wanted to mention that because I was very very not. I wasn't surprised, but more so it was more so just one of those things. I wasn't expecting him to be as nice as he was. Not saying that he isn't nice, but just wasn't expecting that level of nice that Nick Gage is. So yeah, shout out to Nick, man.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if I told this story before on this show or not, but I saw Nick Gage wrestle years back in a high school gym. So like he couldn't do a lot of. It was like a high school charity event, so he couldn't do a lot of the stuff that has made him famous in that building in front of children. But it was so wild because at the end of the show, when all the wrestlers got all their merch out and stuff, and they're doing the autographs and meeting the fans, Nick Gage had the longest line of child fans of anyone in that building, times probably 20. I mean, it was like all the kids were there. They love that guy. I mean, it's just like the authentic, just the, because he makes you, he's one of those guys that makes you feel like he's everyone's best friend. You know what I mean? Like you meet Nick Gage, like, yeah, me and Nick, we're boys. And like everyone feels that way about that. So that's cool hearing that you had the same kind of experience with him, because for people on the outside looking in, you see this dude cutting people's foreheads with pizza cutters, and then you're like, what's going on? You hear the stories and stuff about his past, and like he's actually like a really, really nice guy.
He is though, like he really is. Nick Gage cool as hell, man. For real. Shout out to Nick. I don't know if I'm MDK. I can't claim MDK. I don't want, you know what I'm saying? Because I only met him one time, so I can't stamp MDK on me. But nah, man, shout out to Nick Gage. Nick Gage is definitely a cool dude.
Your interviews again. You've interviewed Nick. You've interviewed Leo Rush recently. Jeff Jarrett. Who are some of your favorite interviews, and who are some people who like this is a bucket list interview that I want to knock down at some point in my career?
Man, like probably some of my favorite, some favorite interviews that come to name. Like I'm talking about which ones that have been like hella smooth. I probably say like Savannah Evans. Impact Wrestling. She's a real cool person. I'm trying, like Jeff Jarrett was funny as hell to talk to. The ultimate bag chaser, Jeff Jarrett. Shout out to that man. Ultimate bag chaser, Jeff Jarrett, man.
He's doing it though. He's doing it.
All respect to Double J, man. All respect to him. He's gonna be taking over the Fed real soon. I'm convinced of it. But I'm trying to think of like just other people that have been like real great to interview. It was real cool to interview Shane Thorne, Shane Hayes. He was real cool to talk to. Mikey Nichols, Chris Hero. I don't know how I forgot about that. Shout out to Hero, man.
Chris Hero gave you the big shout out afterwards.
Yeah, that was very, very unexpected. So yeah, shout out to Chris Hero, man. Like it was a real that was something like I was very, very overwhelmed seeing all the responses and stuff like that. Like I almost wanted to like just tuck my head in and go to sleep and like it was so many like different notifications and stuff like that. So that was real cool. Shout out to Hero, man, for that. And like it sounds like bucket list interviews, man. Like when I'm thinking about people like I would love to get on the channel, like it's probably like Amazing Red. I would love that. If I had to like literally, if I had my pick of the meal of anybody I could interview, like just that, in terms of people that like haven't like been in the media that much, it'd probably be Amazing because I feel like he got like one of the best stories, but I haven't really seen him do any much interviews, and I honestly don't know where to even contact this dude. I feel like you gotta like show up to a House of Glory show to like even get like sights on this man. Like I don't even know how you go about reaching Amazing Red. I would love to interview Jackie Moore from the WWF.
Yeah.
I would love to interview her. I'd love to catch Bret Hart one time. I think that'd be real cool.
You just want him to bury. You'd ask him one question and he buried Goldberg. I already know your game on that one.
Get the clicks. Like
Yep.
I'm just playing, man. Maybe I'm playing. I don't know. But nah, man. I would love to talk to Bret Hart. I think that'd be cool. Like it's funny you say that, but because I know you know, Trevor, because you in the news beat just like me, man. Like Bret Hart, but he isn't even having the time. He isn't even like provoked to like speak about Goldberg. He just does it.
Yep.
He's just like, but he'll be talking about something like completely unrelated to Goldberg and tied back into Goldberg somehow, some way, and just like shit on him.
You could ask him about like any wrestler. You just throw a random wrestler out there. Like, hey, what was it like working with Aldo Montoya? It's like, oh, Aldo Montoya, just incredible. It was great working with him. Never injured anybody. Unlike that prick Goldberg.
Yeah.
That'll be his answer.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is, bro. But like, I would probably say Goldberg. Not Goldberg. Bret Hart. Yeah, Bret Hart, Amazing Red, Jackie Moore. I would love to interview Naomi, Trinity Fatu. It would be really cool to interview her. There's a bunch of people that I could probably I'll probably think of as soon as we cut the camera off, and it'll a bunch of these names come in the head. But you want to know what? You want to know somebody I would really love to interview, bro? Too Cold Scorpio. Yeah, I really want to interview Too Cold Scorpio, and I hope I can make that happen one day. I want to do one with what's the guy from Nova? I don't remember. I'm botching his name right. Go Shiozaki. I wanted to interview him. I tried to set something up with him, but I think it kind of fell through because of the Cyber Fight Festival, and it was a whole bunch of stuff going on, and he was busy. He was the fucking world champion, so he probably ain't had time to do it. But I hope I can set some type of written stuff up with him one day. That would be real cool. But yeah, there's a bunch of people I would love to talk to, man. But yeah, it's so many different wrestlers that haven't had their stories told in depth, who I would love to just sit down and just dive into and all that, and whether that's an in person or over a Zoom call.
We just listed out some of my favorites. I would love to hear it in depth with Amazing Red. He was the reason I got into indie wrestling back in the early 2000s. He was I found him through LimeWire and Kazaa video and stuff like that. Yeah, man, that long ago, which is so crazy. Do you have any other just favorite wrestlers you want to throw out there? Just for if somebody's new to your work or just getting to know you a little bit as a wrestling fan, who would you say are some of your favorite wrestlers that inspire you or really made you become a real big wrestling fan for life?
If I had to just think of I'm gonna be completely honest, that sort of inner fandom, I'm talking about deep childhood fandom for me, goes back to I would probably say The Rock. That's probably one of my favorite, because that whatever, The Rock, it is that childhood core memory stuff for me. So I think that's why I always hold The Rock in this high regard. But in terms of just work rate wrestlers, the first outside of WWE exposure that I had was TNA, and AJ Styles was that guy that immediately stood out to me right off the break. I didn't get into wrestling outside of that TNA WWE bubble. I'm gonna say to 2016 probably. I didn't watch that much of anything, and then around that time, that's when I started catching up on the New Japans and the Ring of Honors and all this different stuff. And I started going back and looking at all these different type of stuff, and eventually caught up. So it took me a hell of a long time, but I eventually caught up. And probably one of my favorite matches that I go back and I'll try to watch every now and then. It was from 2018. It was Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kota Ibushi. I think it was Power Struggle 2018. And bro, I don't know why this match sticks with me so much, but it's one of my favorite matches of all time. And it's not even anything crazy. They don't even do anything crazy. It's just the most simplistic storytelling that they do throughout this match that it hooks me, and I think I sort of the reason I think so highly about it is because maybe I probably brushed up a little bit about it. I'm talking about probably in the months leading up to it. I sort of watched this respective journeys lead up to this bout or something like that, and maybe that's why I really don't remember. But I know that's one of my favorites. But yeah, man, it's so much different wrestling you could keep up with these days. I'm really enjoying AC Mack. I'm really enjoying the stuff he's doing right now. I got the chance to interview AC. He's a real cool dude, man. So shout out to him. I just that match he had with Alex Shelley at the Southeast First show.
Yeah, Atlanta near Atlanta. Yeah,
bro, I could not believe the way that crowd just completely denied Alex Shelley of any ovation. They treated this man like he was the worst villain. But that I think that was just because AC Mack that was his that action wrestler space. That's him. So that was a real cool thing to see. And one thing I like about the IWTV is the Masked Wrestler series. Mm-hmm. That's real cool. I feel that's so different. It is so I feel that's one of those concepts that could be around for such a long time. And I hope that they'll be able to get some not that they need any mainstream names in there, but it would be cool to see some other big names from an AEW or whatever saying get involved in it. I think that'd be cool. But yeah, it's so much different wrestling you can watch these days, man. And yeah, it's been cool to sort of catch up on everything over the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to AC Mack retaining the IWTV Championship last night over Atticus Kogar. So Good. Yeah, he's killing it. Friend of the show, AC Mac. He's been on with us before. Good, very
right after
very good guy.
He won the title. Oh.
I see him all the time around Atlanta at shows. Like he's always like in the crowd, just hanging out like Battle Slam and Terminus and stuff.
That's cool.
Like he just he's cool.
man, Baron Black and Gresham promotion. That's real cool. It's real cool to see what they doing, man. Gresham and Baron Black. I saw Baron got his he broke that damn
won.
Streak.
Oh, he finally won on AEW.
What was that? 0-50, I think it was.
Something like that. Yeah, like
Jesus,
50 something. But yeah, I'm hoping to be at Battle Slam this Thursday. He's in wrestling Little Scrappy. So
tonight, Stephen Jensen.
What?
Tonight,
oh, sorry, tonight at the time of when this airs. Yes, that would be tonight. Good call.
Little Scrappy making his because Little Scrappy he wrestled. I think he wrestled before.
I don't know. He hit a pretty nice rock bottom on Baron on the last show though.
He did. I think he did the what's that promotion in Atlanta? I think it's called Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment.
Oh, okay.
I think he did like a tag, but he tagged with like Stevie J at one of those shows. So yeah, I think this is like his second match. But yeah, Little Scrappy, man, from love and hip hop to the wrestling ring. I can't believe it.
Yeah, that's wild. Jeremy, I know we always have a question that we ask to wrap the show up. If you want to go ahead and ask it, or if you have more, go ahead. But I don't want to forget to ask we have a very important question we ask everybody before the end of the show.
Andrew, what is the coolest thing you have in your room?
That's the money question.
Damn. The coolest thing I got in my room? I don't know, bro. That's a good ass question. Now you're making me think.
See, this is where we get everybody. They're not expecting it. They should watch the product and then they'd expect it. They come prepared.
But the coolest thing I probably got in my room, I would say, is this. Damn, that's a good ass question. When do y'all even come up with some shit like that? Like who thinks?
We asked who? Jaden? Was it Jay or Cole?
It was either Cole Radrick or Jaden Newman. We asked first.
I think it was Cole.
I think it was Cole. Cole Radrick had some like basketball artwork on his wall, and Jeremy was trying to get him to talk about it. I think
I saw it and I was just like, what is that piece of artwork? And I was like, do you have any other cool stuff in your room? And then the next person we had on, I was just like, hey, what's the coolest thing in your room? And then that's become our closing question for all of our guests.
You want to know what? I was going to say this. I got this little fucking like Everlast like boxing thing like I never used. So like God forbid if I had to get another fight these days. I ain't been fight since I was like a teenager. So God, I ain't used that thing in years. So Lord, I hope the Lord looking over me. But I would say probably the coolest thing. Right, real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, you're good.
I would say the coolest thing that I got in my room is this. I bought this. I bought this from this. I don't know if you can see it. It's like this painting. Yeah. I got it from this dude off the street, and he was like selling this like his paintings on like the back of his truck or something like that. And I remember like I don't know, it just seemed real cool, and he was like an upstart artist, and he was like just like he told me that he was trying to like find his way like in the art field and stuff like that. So I just went in there and like paid for one, and I was like, I hope you get famous, and then like he signed it for me. So I was like, if you get famous one day, like remember I was like one of your like first 10 purchases. But like this is probably like the coolest things. Like I got this thing like on my wall, and like I don't know, it's just real cool. I like seeing people in their little not little, I don't know why I said that, but like people on their like come up story, and like when they trying to find their way and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully that dude become famous, man, brother, wherever you are. I hope you killing it right now. I hope you like in some like fucking art gallery in like New York or some shit like that. You just bodying it, and like when this thing like sell for millions. Remember who was right here. But no, this probably like one of my coolest things in my room right now, I'd say, because it's like I don't know. I don't know. I just think that stuff is cool, like seeing people on their grind, and then like I don't know if he was just like a smiley type of dude, but like I could tell like it made him feel good to like, hey, somebody purchased my work, you know what I'm saying? He signed it for me and stuff. So I was like, all right, that made me feel good in turn to see him, you know what I'm saying? So that's probably my favorite thing in the room right here, in my boring ass room. Thanks for calling me out, y'all. Appreciate it.
This is a great story that we wouldn't get if we didn't ask this question.
Yeah,
so that's a great story.
You have great feelings and memories about doing that and getting that from this dude. It probably made his whole day that you were so into it and you wanted him to sign it and everything. And it's like supporting an indie wrestler. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, even if you don't know that much about it, you're at a show, and it's like, I've done that before where I've seen someone for the first time in like a bar or a high school gym or something, and I'm like, I'll buy a t-shirt. Like, why not? Like, it's $20 or whatever in their pocket. Like, they're selling merch. And if this person, I mean, and it's one of those things where I'm always just wearing people's stuff on the show. So every now and then a wrestler will hit me up and be like, some like obscure indie wrestler no one really watches. I'll be wearing their shirt on like Fightful, and they'll be like, dude, thank you so much for wearing that. So yeah, I think I get that same feeling you do, Andrew, when it's like supporting independent artists, people on their grind, people on their come up, and maybe that guy will make it one day, and even if he doesn't, like, that's a good memory for both of you guys.
You want to know what's funny? Like when you said talking about like surprising people and stuff like that on the stream, that kind of reminded me when I had saw it on Twitter when Akira had found out that Mox was winning. I know that probably had to be one of the funniest things. I remember I saw that on Twitter. I know he was probably freaking the fuck out because like that's so like. And the funny thing is like I remember I had heard an interview he did, and he said like he wasn't aware of like Mox like buying his stuff. Like he did not know that in the slightest. So like when he got like the notifications and shit, he was just like okay, John Moxley's wearing my hoodie live on TV, and that's definitely a John Moxley thing to do.
Yes, I'm still waiting for him to carry that GCW championship out on AEW TV, but hey, maybe one of these days.
Andrew, before I let you plug everything, I'm gonna put you over one more time. Tell us one last story here. When you unfortunately left Fightful because they had to split us up, otherwise we just shut down all of wrestling news together. When you left, I'm pretty sure the last thing you put in the chat was push Jeremy Lambert. And that was your last message to the chat. And for some reason, Sean Ross Sapp listened, and he listened to the audience. And now I'm doing everything that I'm doing here at Fightful. And I owe you so much from everything you taught me from news, whether it was, how to find stuff, how to write stuff, work ethic, as I said, the biggest thing. But you having that endorsement from you as you were leaving, it meant a lot to me that you would say that, because you were leaving. You could have just like left and been like, all right, whatever. Good luck to you guys. Fuck off. I'm out of here. But you're always supportive. You're always supportive of me. And that was your last thing. It was like, just push Jeremy. Let him do what he wants. He's great. And I really, really appreciate that. And again, that meant so much to me that was basically your last message to Fightful, was supporting me and everything that I was attempting to do with the site. So
course,
thank
man.
you for that.
No question, man. You're my dog, man. Of course. I'm gonna look out for you. And I think I think I saw you at Starcast like 3 months.
It's been it was Starcast 2019. It was Full Gear 2019 was the last time I saw you. Yeah. Then the world shut down, and then
bro, that was like 4 months before that happened. That's fucking crazy. Like, but when you think, bro, hold on. When you like think about that, like how crazy that is, like that was like 4 months after the world the 4 months before the world shut down. That's fucking crazy. How time like moved like that. But yeah, it was good seeing you, man. And yeah, of course, I'm always support you, Brody. So yeah, and Stephen for sure, man. It was definitely great meeting you too, man. And you do a lot of great podcasts and a lot of great work, and I see your work ethic is fucking through the roof, man. So yeah, much love to you as well.
I appreciate that, and I'm glad that we finally got to do something together, because like I said, I didn't even realize it until you said that at the top of the show when you're like, nice to meet you, and I was like, damn, we have that's weird. I can't believe this is the first time we've done something together.
But I think we've been following each other on Twitter for like 3 years, bro.
Yeah, forever. So yeah, man, no, it was great to do this, man. We really appreciate it.
Andrew, let everyone know where they can find you at.
Yeah, check me out on Twitter at AD Thompson _. I see I got the beautiful graphics here on the side.
See the double underscore is highlighted there. You can see the little break there.
Man, bro, Way would not let me off the hook with this damn underscore. Man. But I'm telling you, they give it to me every single time I'm on any type of post podcast. Double underscore things like the running joke. But yeah, they can check out my interviews at Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. Like whenever I don't have an interview, I try to isolate clips up there. So yeah, go check that stuff out, and check out my real work at postwrestling.com, and that's about it.
Thank you, buddy. Again, the GOAT, Andrew Thompson. Thank you for your time today. Guys, we'll be right back. We are back. That was Andrew Thompson. Appreciate him, as always. Again, one of my good friends in this wrestling media space. Go check him out. Twitter, 80 Thompson, _. Don't forget the _. Postwrestling.com, doing great work seemingly every day over there. Shout out to Andrew. Thank you again for joining us. Guys, we are done. That is a wrap on today's shows. Appreciate everyone who was chilling with us this morning on the Spotlight. Sign up to Fightful Select. Thank you to everybody. 8,000 people have signed up to Fightful Select. I know I kind of tweeted something yesterday, and I wanted to say this while Jensen was on air, but I did not, so I'll say it now. I don't have much to do with Fightful Select, really nothing outside of maybe contributing an interview note if we interview somebody in wrestling, or if I listen to a big interview that the Grapsody guys did or that Sean did, and I passed notes to Sean or something like that. Regardless, I don't have much to do with Fightful Select. That's all the hard work of Sean Ross Sapp and him breaking news. But I know how much the subscribers support me and everything that I'm able to do, because that money goes into the website and helps pay me. So even if I don't have much to do with Fightful Select, you're supporting Fightful as a whole. And while I don't always like saying this, I know I'm a very big part of Fightful. So any subscription to Fightful Select helps support me. So I very much appreciate everybody who has subscribed to that. And not only do you get Sean's news, but you do get great things like the Weekender with Stephen Jensen. You get interviews that Jensen does when he's able to make it to some indie shows. You get Alex Pulowski, who I now think reviews every single show on the planet with Sour Graps. So go over there, subscribe to Fightful Select. Again, thank you to 8,000 people who have subscribed to Fightful Select. You could also go to FightfulOverbooked.com. That's where I make a little bit of cash. Go to FightfulOverbooked.com. We got a lot of great shows over there. What have we dropped this week? We did FMC on Monday. Big FMC news with myself, SP3, and Cher Delaware interviewing Paulie and Cara Maria from The Challenge. That was a big interview for us. We had a lot of fun with that. They were great. They were ready to bury everybody. Total pro wrestlers, Paula and Kari. So Paulie and Cara. Oh yeah, go over to FightfulOverbook.com. That's non-wrestling stuff that we do. We do have a weekly non-wrestling show for those of you who enjoy sports and reality television. SB3 and I do that every week. We had a new episode of Pillar to Post, one of my favorite shows to do. Connor Casey was there defending his interim title. SB3 buried again. Kate and Chris Mueller are on the show. I love doing Pillar to Post. I appreciate everybody who checks that out and supports that show. It's really, really fun time. Yesterday, what did we drop yesterday? We dropped the Paula and Cara interview yesterday. We had a new interview or new episode of the Joshi Dreamcast with Scotty Wrestling. That went up yesterday. Next week, the Bread Club, Mark and Kieran for talking New Japan. The G1 Climax is in the middle of its run right now. So that's dropping next week. Later on today, Day After Dynamite with Will Washington. I'm in the office. I'll be making my run in on Day After Dynamite later on today. So you can go check that out. The series premiere of the series dropped on Saturday. Joel and I are doing a new show called Newsworthy. Tim and Joel call it In the Ring Tag Talk with Haley and Kylie. They've been in on the Hung Bucks. They've been telling you for weeks about the Hung Bucks if you listen to Haley and Kylie. So go check out Tag Talk. A lot of cool stuff we're doing at Fightful Overbook. So go subscribe, go support all that stuff. Guys, thank you. Thank you again. Really appreciate it. Everyone enjoy your Thursday. Have a good afternoon and evening and weekend, everyone. Bye.